And it says we're live. Good evening, everyone. I'm here with a bottle of whiskey, Craig Bragg, and the next 6 minutes. Craig, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining, and thank you, Irvin, for allowing me to be on your live stream.
I, I, I'm under the impression that you're basically my co-host now, and I'm getting the feeling I'm basically your co-host on over on Ammunition. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
Craig Bragg is always awesome to have on stream.
Well, thank you, Six. It's
Really?
always
Yeah.
awesome to see you on stream as well.
Thank you.
I'm liking the beard, Six. I'm liking the beard. Now, Six.
That's all I can grow, bro. That's all I can grow.
And Six, I'm given to understand you are pressed for time. So, how are you, and what's going on?
I'm doing okay. I'm sore as fuck, but I'm doing okay. And I've spent the last 2 hours kind of just trying to sketch my way out of all the twists and turns and speed bumps and sharp turns and walls and all kinds of stuff like that. I've been working on my comic book art here. I'm trying to get my skills up to snuff, and that will be all on display early next month. I'm shooting for the first week of August, if not the first, and then easily the second week of August, to do another one of my Vibe streams, and you'll be seeing my progress thus far. So
I'm looking forward to it. That sounds really cool.
That's what I got going on, and so I'll continue to grow this scruffy little beard here. It's my plague beard.
Your plague beard.
My plague beard, yeah. And you really can't see it under the masks that I'm forced to wear on a daily basis. So it's like it's pathetic looking, but people can't see it really. So I'm just growing it out to see how long it can actually grow, because I've never really had much opportunity to grow the damn thing out before, and because it's always looked just absolutely pathetic. It's like, why are you even growing that out?
It occurs to me, if anyone has ever doubted that you are in fact Latino, there it is. That's the proof. That underneck beard. That is the most Latino thing there is.
Yeah,
is that a Latino thing? I was not aware that that's.
It's a stereotypical. The
It's
neck
actually pretty
beard.
gangster.
Yeah, I got it going. Got it going on here. And that's that. There is no pattern on either side. There is nothing growing on either side. Just like a scant hair poking out every now. Yeah, that's all that grows. Not even a mustache. Shit. I got hit by the strange native Mexican genetic lottery. I guess weird sort of recessive gene that pops up every now and again if you happen to have that particular kind of ancestry.
Yeah, I was surprised to learn that that Native or Aboriginal North Americans or Aboriginal Americans have a tendency towards lower amounts of facial and body hair, and I was like, that's kind of cool. It's kind of like
cool.
in a fetishy kind of thing. I mean, I'm thinking more of
when you see Latinos,
Native American
American
women, with no body hair. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
That's kind of hot. Yeah. So yeah, when you see a lot of Latinos that are sporting a lot of body hair, that's European genes that are kicking in, dominant European genes.
Yeah.
But when you see a fellow like me, it's dominant native genes that are kicking in that produce very little facial hair, and that's just how the ball rolls, man.
Genetics. Who can argue with genetics?
Yeah. Well, genetics is telling me that I need to go to the restroom here. So been drinking beer and drawing for the better part of the evening here, and Irv was hanging out with me in a voice chat, and we were looking at some Avengers art, some McFarlane art, just kind of getting just a grasp on what examples I should be looking for as far as like foreshortening and things like that. And
Nice.
Very helpful. Very helpful. Thank you for steering me in those directions. And well, I'm going to have to bid y'all adieu, but thank you for having me on to shill a bit here and discuss my facial hair and
Thanks for coming.
and all that fun stuff.
Well, looking forward to seeing the artwork. I'll check
Yeah.
the 60 Vibe stream when it comes out.
Yep.
Very
Yep.
cool.
I'm struggling to find a title for the August one, but I'll find something. I'll find something witty, and then make the art, and then of course you'll see the me posting that on Twitter later. Anyhow, y'all take it easy. Thank you, chat, for tuning in to watch these guys because they're awesome. And well, I will see all of you later. And well, you have a good one.
Take care, Six. That was nice of him to pop by.
Yeah, yeah. Too bad he can stay, but you know, he's got
It's all
things to
good.
do. Yeah.
Yep. Busy.
I'm given to understand you're off this week.
I'm off for the next 2 weeks. So this is, I'm off. We were supposed to go to Greece, myself and the whole family. But with the Rona, that has been deep sixed. So I decided, you know what, I'll take the vacation time. I got stuff to do around the house. I can use some time to relax and take some naps. It's been so long since I've had naps. And when you hit 50, you got to have your naps.
You need naps. All right.
That's right. Yeah. So, and I'm 50 now, so I need my naps.
I've always been a dog person, so I learned from the dog like that naps are gold.
Yep.
Just 20 minutes at a time. It's magic. Changes your day entirely.
If I could do a 20-minute nap, I probably get a hell of a lot more out of my day, but I invariably end up napping around, I'll go for a nap around 11, 12, and then I'll find out that I've been sleeping since like, I wake up at like 3:30. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a daytime snooze.
Someone said their favorite game is nap roulette. Is it going to be 20 minutes or 4 hours? No one knows.
That's right. It's true. It's true. At least you wake up. That's the good thing.
Yeah. Now, okay, we want to get to Chair Girl, but before we do that, I just want to share a little anecdote. It's just an interesting conversation that I thought was funny. Now, my buddy and I grew up in a less than savory neighborhood with less than savory people doing less than savory things. Despite that, we've managed to grow up into somewhat responsible, somewhat emotionally mature adults where we can have like real meaningful conversations, heartfelt, that, you know, immediately afterwards you make fun of it for being a little bit gay. But still, you can't, despite all the growth, you can't escape the unsavory neighborhood. Like, right. He had said to me, you know, I just wanted to thank you for helping me, and I'm glad that we're friends. And as a token of my appreciation, I got you something. And he's giving it to me, and I'm saying, oh, that's very thoughtful, too kind. I mean, really, you didn't have to. And he says, no, I know I didn't have to. I wanted to. And we're having this conversation while he hands me a bag filled with drugs.
That's awesome.
So that's just great. Okay. But yes, so Chair Girl, for anyone not familiar, Chair Girl is the young lady who, was it last year or the year before? Almost 2 years ago.
Was it that long ago? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It might have been like a New Year's party at the beginning of 2019.
All right. Fair enough.
And she threw an IKEA chair from the balcony of the 45th floor apartment where the party was happening.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was right beside the Gardner Expressway. Is that right?
Could be. I'm not sure all those details, but there was already people moving around the street, and luckily, no one was hurt. But she was charged with something along the lines of recklessly endangering life, right?
Yeah.
But she was only 19, and was it pre-med student or already a med student? Do you remember these details?
Yeah, she was involved in. Yeah, she was in a professional course for sure. She wasn't taking like gender studies. She was taking like an actual professional course.
And her lawyers were arguing that this one event shouldn't ruin the rest of her life, right? Which, I mean, might be true, but still, she should have some kind of punishment. This case has now come to a close. the final, not verdict, what do they call it?
Sentencing, yeah.
Is 2 years probation and a $2,000 fine. And I think that is particularly light, especially in light of the current shutdowns where basically everyone's on fucking probation anyway. So what the fuck is that?
Yeah, it's true. I would be inclined to think that it's pretty light, but we know what the justice system's like, and my guess is she was able to afford a decent lawyer. I'm guessing this wasn't a public defender that got her this.
Well, no, I mean if she's in med school, right?
Yeah.
This is like the typical privileged white female from upper class.
Sure.
Right.
Now, if she had no prior record, like she hadn't had a DUI, she hadn't had any other run-ins with the law, it's in keeping with, I guess, what one might find in criminal justice in Canada. They are very lenient, especially the fact that nobody was actually injured or harmed. But somebody very well could have been, yeah. But you think she should have gotten more. What would be if you were the judge in that case, what would you sentence?
Okay. Before I get to that, mostly because I have to think about it, but also, look, she had no priors. But clearly, that's an incident of she was never caught. Nobody goes from zero crime and troublemaking to flinging a chair from the 45th floor of an apartment building. Like that ramp is not that steep.
Yeah, you're probably right. They're probably, she's probably been lucky. She's probably been engaged in some very antisocial behavior in the past and just happened to get away with it. But yeah. I don't know. You can't make assumptions when you're a judge or a prosecutor. You can't make assumptions on what they might have done and never got away with when you're passing judgment and making sentences, right? So, but I'm not siding with this girl. I think what she did was terrible. I just I'm not surprised by the sentencing. I think I said to you before the stream, I could do 2 years probation on my head. Like that's not that bad. 2 years probation is pretty straightforward. It just means that they're watching you. You can't get in trouble. And a $2,000 fine. If she's going to college for med, her parents, that's a drop in the bucket for them. So,
yeah, like she could take it out of her student loan and it wouldn't affect her.
Right.
Like, long term. But I mean, no, something like that. Like, it's like the idea behind drinking and driving, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wrap your own car around a pole and nobody else is hurt. That's pure luck.
Yep.
That nobody else was hurt, right? Yep. Like that's not it's okay because no one was hurt. It's like, are you fucking out of your fucking mind?
Yeah.
I think she should have had something like real. Like even if it was one of those for a year you've got to go to prison every weekend and you've got to spend the weekends in prison, but it should have been something like you are confined. Like I would have preferred that
as opposed to probation. I hear you. Yeah, I could see that. Again, I keep rolling back to it was lucky that nobody was hurt, but at the end of the day nobody was hurt, so I think maybe a steeper fine. Maybe $5,000, and maybe I'm assuming she spent some time in jail when she was originally arrested, or did she just or did the cops just come and say, "Hey, you're being charged, but we're not locking you up," kind of thing? I don't know.
I'm sure she would have been properly arrested, had to be processed, and then, but I mean, bail would be set fairly quickly, and she would have been out after an overnight. If she got arrested on a Friday, she'd be out by Monday, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think, I think, I don't know. If this is merely a matter of like retribution for, her flaunting her privilege and being, a jackass, then I would say, be more harsh. Just say, hey, you know what? You've had your life sort of let out on a silver platter. You've had every opportunity and still you do something this stupid. Maybe put her in jail for 6 months and another year's probation.
Yeah, right. It's something to show, like, because I mean, especially considering what's happening now
Yeah.
in Canada, that everything's closed and you have to wear a mask to leave the fucking house, basically, and shit, right? That her life is not going to fundamentally change because
No.
she's on probation.
And the
So,
fact is, they're letting prisoners out of jail anyway. So I mean, she'd probably be one of those first people to get out. So if COVID wasn't a factor, let's say, then 6 months in jail I think would have been appropriate.
Yeah.
Just because, yeah, reckless endangerment. I was going to say criminal mischief, but criminal mischief is something like, you break someone's car antenna, so there's visible damage to somebody's property, but nobody was hurt, and you're not likely to, your actions aren't likely to cause further harm, right?
right.
So this was one where, yeah, I mean, if a car had swerved and taken out a minivan full of people, and people had lost their lives or been grievously injured, then yeah, reckless endangerment causing physical harm or causing bodily harm, that would be the charge. It wouldn't be just reckless endangerment or criminal mischief or what have you. But yeah, I think if we were going to go throw the book at her, so to speak, the book for me would be, 6 months jail, years probation. And of course, then you can, I think in Canada, after 5 years of completing your sentence, you can apply for a pardon. So basically your record's expunged anyway. So her life would not be over in that sense. She would still be able to go to school. She might have to start, mid-semester or whatever, but, small price to pay to slap you on the wrist and say, hey, don't be a doofus.
Yeah, because part of the problem is I've seen so many videos, and I know it's all anecdotal, right? But young kids, 18, 19, 20 years old, in front of a judge, having committed some horrific kind of crime, not horrific kind of crime, but like serious crime, and the judge is sentencing them, and they're going to prison. They're going to prison for a year, maybe 2. And they're looking at the judge like, you just wait till I call my mom. Right? Like, and they don't understand what's happened. And it's like they've never been punished.
Right.
And that, what the self-esteem movement, everyone gets a trophy just for showing up, and no one gets punished for their wrongdoings. And then everyone ends up in the streets kicking and screaming over Trump being elected president, and they think they're in the right. Like, and like punishing someone for something they've done wrong is the good thing for them. It's something that need to happen.
You're right, and you know what? If you're in the judicial system, if you're a judge or a prosecutor or what have you, and you fail on that duty, you're in dereliction of duty. It reminds me of what's going on right now in the cities in the United States, these Democrat-run cities, where these people are setting fires, breaking windows, and if they are arrested, they're released immediately. The attorney general of that state is not charging them. So they're not getting any, there's no repercussions for their actions. So in essence, the state is condoning it. And that's what boggles my mind, that, and not only that, the media are all over it too. Oh, these are, just carrying water for these insurrectionists, these rebels essentially, and saying, oh no, they're just peaceful protesters. No, peaceful protesters don't destroy property. They don't attack motorists. They don't set fire to shit, and they don't break windows. That's not peaceful protesting. They're not protesters. They're rioters at this point. So call them what they are. They're rioters. And the problem is even Fox News is taking the line of calling them protesters, which doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Like, I mean,
I don't know. They get their marching orders from someone on high, and they're said, so we're not going to use the term rioters, use the term protesters. And I made a prediction on Twitter either today or yesterday. I believe that given the way that...
Hold on. Because Nick's radio says rebel implies coolness. These protesters are not rebels.
True.
Assholes.
Right. Yeah, you know what? Rebel has some sort of it has some good connotation to it. It has a noble connotation to it. They're not rebels. They're thugs. They're insurrectionists. They're whatever you want to call them. So apologies for the term rebel. But yeah, I was making a prediction on Twitter the other day, because of the way the Democrats are interacting and tying the hands of police, and Trump is the only one who seems to be wanting to put in law and order in these lawless cities right now. I predict that every person in uniform, like every officer in the United States, every officer's mother, father, husband, or wife is going to be voting Republican in the next election. I mean, you basically now I have a feeling, and this is the conspiracy in me. I have a feeling that the election's not going to matter anyway. I have a feeling there's going to be rampant cheating going on, and nobody is going to accept the outcome of the election in November, regardless of who wins. And I don't think it's going to be down to Trump or Biden not conceding. I think it's going to be down to the voters saying, "Fuck this shit." Even if Trump wins and it's a clear majority, they're going to say that they're going to launch another investigation of somehow how he stole the election and whatnot. So it's November to me is a moot point. I want Trump to win the election, but I don't think it's going to matter what happens if he wins or not. It doesn't. It's not going to make a difference. The U.S. is just too damn divided right now. And I'm sorry to get off on that tangent.
No. I would be pleasantly surprised, though, to see places that normally go blue go red here. That exactly for the reason you said. That, I mean, you have police in your family. I have police in my family. Almost everybody knows someone who is a cop, right?
Yep.
And this kind of, it really is maltreatment of the police.
Yeah.
To either just not intervene on their behalf, not support them, and watch their precinct get burned to the ground, or order them to stand down when they're just trying to do their job. So many people are gonna change their vote. Like, I mean, you were saying you were watching Timcast IRL, right?
Yeah, tonight, yeah.
And his buddy, whose name I can't remember there,
Adam,
the hippie surfer guy, right?
Yeah.
He's saying that he's voting Trump. He didn't vote in the last election,
right?
And they're hearing grapevine stuff, all anecdotal, but people who are normally very left, very progressive, are like, "Oh no, this is not good. We can't have. We have to vote Trump."
Eric Weinstein posted in Twitter, and it went viral. He was saying, "Look, I'm talking to a lot of people, left-leaning people, who are saying they're voting for Trump, even though they don't support Trump and they didn't like Trump and they didn't vote for Trump in 2016. These are left-leaning people. Mm-hmm. They're voting for Trump for two reasons: one, Biden's cognitive decline or cognitive, issues, and two, because of what's going on in the Pacific Northwest right now, in Portland and in Washington State, and all these." Mad, insane people just going off the rails, and that the Democrats are taking their side, are siding with them.
Yeah.
And there was another Twitter post that somebody made a few days ago saying, "You're writing a book about 2020. What's the first line of your book?" And I think I was posted something along the lines of, in 2019, the enemy realized they were going to lose again. So in 2020, they decided to destroy it all.
Yeah.
And I think that's essentially what's going on. This is the people who are, they can cite all the polls they want, but I don't trust the polling data. I don't trust their methodology. But I think they realize they're going to lose. And they're like, this is a Hail Mary pass. We're just going to try and burn it all down before he has a chance to win again. That's my thought on it.
Well, I mean, their strategy in 2016, like leading up to the 2016 election, was to call everyone racist and sexist and berate them. And, even before, this was before Trump got elected, that the battle at Berkeley.
Yeah.
And there was actually 3 skirmishes at Berkeley. They're not really battles, right?
Right.
But it seems that they think calling everyone racist and sexist didn't work. I think we didn't start enough fires.
Yeah, we should double down.
Yeah.
We're not going to learn from what, because that's the thing. None of them accepted the idea that he actually won legitimately. Every single one of them thought it was either a fluke or he cheated. And they wouldn't look, in upon themselves and realize they put up a hugely unpopular person for their nominee. They disenfranchised a huge swath of their own voter base when
it was her turn.
It was her turn, absolutely. because it was her turn. And that was decided back in 2008 when it was between Barack Obama and Hillary. Basically, there was a call between both camps, and Barack said, look, bow out or basically concede that I've won this. I'll give you Secretary of State, and basically it'll be your department to do what you want with it. And then in 2016, it'll be yours. And who are they going to put up? Nobody thought that anybody would be able to it her because it was this dynasty idea that she was going to be the first female president. She was destined to be the first female president. And I've always held that the first female president should be a conservative. But
well, I mean, the same way that the first black congresspeople were black conservatives, right?
Yes, exactly. They were Republicans. That's right. But yeah, and they're doing it again, like you said. They've doubled down. They didn't learn. They didn't look at themselves and with any seriousness and realize, hey, maybe we're on the wrong side of the cultural debate here. But no, they've just gone full hog and said, yes, cops are bad, blacks are oppressed, and we need to side with the far left, movements in this country, and just go full hog on it. And it's just I don't know. It's like not incapable of looking in the mirror. And I don't understand it.
They the way they've been behaving literally since before 2016, the left, with the shouting everyone down, starting fires, and now it's properly violence in the streets, right? Like this is it really is horrifying. It makes me think of two. What are they? They're maxims that are jokes, really, and that they employ them as if they're real. The first is beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna burn this down until you give us what we want.
Yeah,
and what we want is to burn everything down. Yeah, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, and I misplaced the other one, so.
But I get where you're going from, or where you're coming from. Yeah, I understand it. I don't know, and I think it also ties into this ideological possession that Jordan Peterson speaks about. You are so convinced that you're right that anybody who disagrees with you is not only wrong, but they has to also be evil, right? Yeah. And I've even I have friends who we disagree politically, like we're night and day. And I said, here's the difference. Like, you think that people who disagree with you aren't just incorrect. You think they're bad people. And for me, on this particular issue, I just think you're wrong. I just don't think you understand the alternate perspective, or you've given it time to listen to the alternate perspective. And and they, I don't know what it is. Are we all sort of infected with that we're possessed by our own ideology? Because I'll be honest, I consider myself reasonable and willing to listen to other people's points of view. But there's just certain things that, I'm pretty adamant about, but it's only because I haven't yet heard an argument in favor of the alternative that is convincing to me. So.
See, and now look, okay, I can understand why people might think that it's, I don't know, morally bad to be, let's say, conservative libertarian,
right?
Or also to be, on the left there,
right?
If you're a libertarian conservative, you're very much about taking care of your own self, which a lot of people will immediately twist that into not taking care of anyone else,
right?
But that's because I have limits, right? Yeah. So I can only take care of myself, the people nearest to me, and everybody else. Don't take my fucking money. Right. But they see it as being somewhat callous. Like, don't you care about the homeless, and don't you care about the underprivileged, like this starving child? Yeah, it's not that I don't care. It's that I can't afford it. Like, I literally.
Well, no, I mean, I do, and that's why I give to charities. I don't want them given money by through threat of force
that I can give. Yeah. And but to allow the government to take it from. And then the other side is where there is a compassionate route to, okay, we have to set up these programs to help the underprivileged children and the homeless. Okay, that's great, but now you're just taking from me, and I can't afford that. You're actually
Right.
causing me harm. I might end up homeless, or my children might end up underprivileged because you're trying to help someone else. So each person has this view that's a little bit narrow, saying that thing is wrong. And they're both right. They're both wrong. It's not nuanced enough, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a simple matter of black and white. I mean, in response to your idea of programs, I mean, Margaret Thatcher, first female prime minister in the UK, conservative Tory, but she made a point, and I don't think she's the one who coined the phrase, but she made a point of saying it. Socialism is fine until you run out of other people's money, and that's what it comes down to. You can't. And that's where the Laffer curve comes in. I think you and I talked about it at one point. You can't tax to the point where you start losing revenue because people just won't pay you, or they're not making enough to pay you.
Yeah.
Or they'll find ways to keep from paying you. So, and I was interested. I found out recently watching a Milton Friedman documentary that Estonia, in Europe, it's they have a flat tax. They have a 25% flat income tax that if you make a certain amount, everybody, regardless of how much you make beyond that amount, 25% of your income, which to me is the most fair, balanced tax system I've ever heard of. And I'm like, I'd be on board with a 25% income tax if I knew that everybody was paying that. But because, I mean, that having a progressive tax system like we have in Canada and in the United States and in just about every other Western country, where the more you make, the higher percentage of your income you pay to support, the general well-being of the population.
Mm.
It disincentivizes people from earning more, and that's what it comes down to. But if everybody's on the same, at the same level, and the arguments for the progressive tax as well, yeah, but somebody who loses 25% of their meager $10,000 a year income is deeply hurt by that 25%. But somebody who's making $100,000 a year isn't nearly as hurt by that 25%. So,
well, that's why we have that minimum taxable, right?
Right. Yeah. So you wouldn't tax somebody who's making $10,000 a year.
Exactly. Yeah.
But But anyway, I mean, it's off on a tangent. But I'm just the idea that conservatives or Republicans or what have you aren't compassionate. Of course, they're compassionate. As a matter of fact, you look at the statistics; they're the ones who give the most to charity, even though they're also the ones who are probably making the most money and paying the most in taxes. But that's why they argue against higher taxes, because look, I'm already donating my time and my livelihood and my money to help the unfortunate, because I don't want to see people suffer. So what I want to see happen is for you to loosen the stranglehold instead of the purse strings and let people succeed. Give them the opportunities to succeed instead of giving them, a handout. Because it doesn't incentivize them to get better, to do any better, and it just keeps them in a poor perpetually. So, anyway.
Ajax, my dude, and he says, "Bullspit. The most fair tax is a consumption tax, no income tax, but a sales tax only."
I'd be on board with that, but the only issue I would see with that is that you would see a lot of people, a lot of businesses, especially smaller businesses, avoiding those taxes. This is what in Greece. Nobody pays taxes. And this is why they're so insolvent as a nation. But it's because everybody looks for every possible way to avoid paying taxes in Greece. And so my only concern about a consumption tax is you would be inclined to say, hey, you know what? If you pay me cash,
let's do it under the table. Yeah,
we'll do it. I won't charge you any tax. And then no revenue gets collected, right? So I'm on board with a consumption tax in terms of toll roads or gas taxes, where basically you can't get gas unless you're using it through computer gas pump, and then that's automatically going to attribute the gas taxes. But again, I think those should be levied at local levels to pay for local roads, and provincial levels to pay for provincial roads. But the fact that somebody pays gas tax and a hunk of that goes off to Ottawa's not building roads. So why are they getting gas taxes? So anyway,
should we get into what Ottawa is doing? Or
Christ,
yeah, like there's too many details leaking here that I don't even know where to begin with the connection between the is it the Kielburger family and the Trudeaus, and that the organization has previously paid Trudeau family members into the hundreds of thousands of dollars for speaking appearances, and then
it's near $500,000, I think. So the $300,000-$400,000 range.
And then I've seen some again. Okay, let's use this. You had a great segue, and I didn't take it into the next part here.
Man.
Misleading headlines. So let's start with Canada's bullshit. The misleading headlines where they're saying, "Oh, there is no record of emails between the PMO and the
WE charity."
Yeah, and
so he didn't know about it before he got the contract.
But the thing is, they're all connected by family. These people are married to each other and cousins of each other, and they're in the same circles. So it would have gotten mentioned socially and made its way to these people who then already had the entire, what do you call that? Like a business plan for this project 3 days before it was announced. So they had this huge lead before anybody else could even come up with a proposal. And then they just took it, right? And it's not like it's a couple of $1 million. Like every government is a little bit corrupt. You really can't avoid corruption. It's everywhere. People are going to try and skim off the top, avoid paying the taxes. People are going to try and take the shortcut and get a job done more efficiently, even if it's a little iffy. But this is like $1 billion.
Yeah, it's insane. And I likened it to the Clinton Foundation, right? The Clinton Foundation is basically a money laundering operation for the Clintons, right? They go and they do, Bill or Hillary would go and do the speech, get paid $500,000 to do the speech, and it would go to the Clinton Foundation. When in reality, it's paying for Chelsea's wedding. It's and this is the issue. This is the problem with government being as big as it is. It should be much, much more limited in its scope and much more limited in its power. And that way people being bought wouldn't make any difference because they can't do that much for you in the first place. Now, the argument against that then is if you don't have regulatory bodies in place, then business just basically runs everything and they can do what they want. Well, no, you can still have regulatory bodies, but you shouldn't have the businesses. You shouldn't have the oil industry lobbying to make the regulations on the oil industry, right? But anyway,
no, I mean, what's the idea that the EPA and the oil lobbies should be butting heads in front of a judge, right?
Right.
Yeah,
they're not.
And publicly, like it should all be public. It should be all transparent. Let everyone hear everything and come to some kind of decision as best we can without treading too much. Literally, don't tread.
Yeah. No step on snack.
Don't.
Just don't.
Yeah, and that's but again, misleading headlines. I don't have enough information to go deeper into the WE scandal stuff yet. I don't think anybody does because we just Brian Lilly's been doing some great work there.
Yeah.
That the first thing when he said, "Hey, what's going on with your land holdings, WE charity?" They were like, "This is our lawyer. Everything you're about to say is slander and libel. Do not contact us again." And so we need to wait on this because it's coming.
It's funny that it takes an outfit like Rebel Media, this internet-based media company, which was formerly Sun News, which got removed from the cable networks purely because of politics, because it was quite popular. I worked in the cable industry at the time. It was quite popular, but it's not popular. People don't want that kind of news organization. And they're the only ones. The Rebel is the only one that are actually doing investigative journalism and holding, shining a light to the powers that be. And CBC is just carrying water for the Liberal government. CTV, Global, they're all basically just doing the same thing. They're carrying water for the Liberal Party, and it's this little outlet. That's why I encourage people to stop watching the news. My dad watches the news until he gets depressed because he sees all this horrible shit going on. I'm like, Dad, stop watching the news. Just get your information online. Get it on and don't go to the Global website to read it because it's just going to be as depressing. Find alternate news outlets, and you'll get a better story. People will call you conspiracy theorists. People will say you're nuts. People say, "Well, I didn't read that," but you're not trying to convince other people. You're trying to inform yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, Brian Lilly was actually one of the founders of the Rebel.
Rebel, yeah.
Since parted ways, I'm not sure why, but
so he's not with Rebel right now.
No,
I think he left.
Yeah, and he mostly works with the Toronto Sun, as far as I can tell.
Okay, well,
but even the Sun looks like it's losing its grip. It's weakening, man.
Yeah. Well, it's always been editorially more conservative, except for when it comes to teachers' unions. but yeah, I don't know. It's just I can't watch news anymore because it's not news. It's propaganda, and you can see it's clear propaganda.
Well, okay. On that note, let's see how much we can shift into the misleading headlines part here. I understand every news outlet is going to have a bit of bias. They're going to spin things a certain way, and also they need the money. They have to make it exciting. It has to be sensationalized to a degree.
Right.
When you know that, you can correct for it whenever you read a headline and read an article, and it should still be news when you have that info. But there are headlines that have become so misleading that they're basically lies. Did you see the one from, I believe it was Washington Post, where they said unidentified militarized force is like abducting peaceful protesters?
Right.
And the image they have on their front page of this article is the man's face is exposed. His badge number and his agency are clearly on his shoulder.
Right.
And they're not abducting anyone. They're detaining them for questioning and then releasing them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it all goes to, Pelosi's tweet. So basically they're getting their marching orders from the Democrats and, Pelosi. Yeah. Pelosi called them stormtroopers, right? They're federal agents at a federal building, and they only come out and detain people when they've witnessed them destroying property and engaging in, vandalism. And have you seen that video clip where the Antifa girls saying, "Use your words. Why are you doing this? Use your words." Like, what the fuck? Yeah, and they're just ignoring her, right? And they grab the guy, the kid, dressed all in black, wearing the helmet. Why are you wearing a helmet to a peaceful protest? And they basically black bag him, put a bag over his head, and throw him in the minivan. They didn't put a bag over his head, but they call it black bagging. It's like a joke.
But that video, all right, that guy is saying, "I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything." Some people are saying that the way they roll up on him and he doesn't resist, which is weird, and they just put him in the car without cuffing him.
Oh, didn't they put the zip ties on the back of his arms?
No zip ties. They just put hands on shoulders, walk him into the van.
So they're saying it was a psyop or whatever.
Well, no, that he's an informant, right?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
And it was just really interesting. Like, the take on it was, I thought it was okay, but also they're saying, like, why use that tactic? Because there's multiple videos of officers trying to detain someone who's actually been trying to start a fire.
Yeah.
And then they get de-arrested, is what Antifa calls it, that they attack, they swarm.
Yeah.
Free the person before they can be cuffed, right? And then disperse.
Right.
And everyone masked up. If you weren't paying serious attention, you lost that guy.
Yeah. So that's why these federal, they're either DHS or some other federal law enforcement agency.
Yeah. Now, here's something I found weird was that one picture we were talking about for the Washington Post with the unidentified militarized force. His patch actually says Border Patrol.
Yeah. Well, they're called Border Patrol. Basically, any federal law enforcement agency has been put to task for trying to quell this, right?
That I guess,
So-
yeah, you're just pulling like two guys from here, two guys from there, two guys
Right.
from there.
Right, and that's where the talking point is. Oh, they're not trained for this. They're in law enforcement. They're trained for every manner of thing. They haven't been trained for.
They don't have what is it? Riot suppression training. Well, if
Right.
it's not a riot,
Yeah, it's just a peaceful protest. Well, they're not stopping rioters. They're arresting vandals. Oh man.
oh yeah, okay. So and actually, because this is the second stream we had this week, but we had no streams for a month. And in that time, there was also another very misleading headline from the BBC, because they haven't had as much trouble recently in England. But what was it? 39 officers or 29 officers?
Right.
29 officers injured in largely peaceful protest. That's just so disingenuous. It can only be called a lie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been thank you, Pox. I've been making the odd rape joke in my videos and on Twitter lately. So I'm going to go ahead and use that idea here. 29 officers injured in largely peaceful protest. Can you imagine the outrage that we would hear if the headline read 29 women gang raped in largely consensual orgy? All right. Get the fuck out. That is a lie. Your headline is a lie.
Well, even the footage from CNN, like early on in the protest when there were fires going off and the guys there on the ground, it's largely peaceful, but there's fires and people are throwing shit at buildings and breaking windows, but it's largely peaceful. What? It's like it reminds me of that Iraqi general going, "There's nothing going on. Everything's good." Oh man.
Yeah.
And this is why I say to people, don't watch news. You're not getting anything from it. You're being propagandized.
And we've been misled by the editing and by they've taken their bias to such an end that they're selectively editing footage to tell the exact opposite story.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It wasn't Ferguson. It was one of the subsequent riots when shortly after Trump was elected, I think. Was this also Minneapolis?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. But CNN had this piece with a young black lady whose brother had been killed by police. And they said how powerful this video is of this young lady who just lost her brother calling for peace.
Yeah.
And they showed her saying, "Don't burn down our shit. We need that shit. Everyone stop doing this in our neighborhood." And they cut the video. The thing is, I had already seen, you can see there's dozens of people with their cameras out, their phones out, recording it. I had already seen the uncut footage where she's saying, "Don't burn down our shit. Go to the suburbs. Burn down white people's shit."
Yeah.
There is no way that the person who filmed it, the person who was the reporter on scene, that the producers and then the anchor didn't see this film. There is no way that could have got there and they were mistaken. They're just lying.
Well, that's just it, right? It's a narrative they want to portray. It goes all the way back to Trayvon Martin and what's his name? Who was the guy who ended up shooting? Zimmerman, right. They needed to frame it in a certain way, so they showed Trayvon Martin. They showed a picture of Trayvon Martin when he was like 11, when he was a kid, and they lightened the skin of Zimmerman to say he was a Hispanic, a white Hispanic, and I'm like,
but he's Jewish and Mexican.
Yeah,
is that about right?
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
And it was not done all at once. It was done over a period of weeks, where every time they showed a picture of Trayvon Martin, they showed a picture from months earlier, and then months earlier from the time he was he 18, 19?
He was 18 or 19 when it all happened. But
then
they
they're
showed it
showing
when he was like 12 or 13.
and then they're showing 16 and then 15 and 14 until they're showing pictures of him at 12.
Yeah.
And Trayvon Martin or Zimmerman rather, they decide to show the picture where he's in an orange sweater.
Yeah.
So it looks like a jumpsuit.
Right.
And then every time they show that picture over weeks, it's a little more washed out and a little more washed out and a little more washed out until that orange is no longer the bright orange of a fleece sweater, but it's the prison orange and his skin is white.
Yep.
And
you notice they never showed, like, it wasn't like most of the mainstream media outlets never showed the injuries he suffered when he was involved with the the attack with Trayvon Martin, right? So they only showed the picture of him without the injuries. So yeah, it's again, it's a narrative that they need to write. The whole hands up, don't shoot after Michael Brown got shot by that cop. That was all fabricated. It was all done on a lie, And the coroner and the witnesses on the street said, "Yeah, man, he charged the cop. I don't know what the hell he was doing. The guy had his gun out and he ran up on him."
Apparently it started sooner, that the cop was still in the car and he was at the cop's window and tried to reach through the window to get the cop to run.
Yeah, and then he took off.
And
then he got out of his car. The cop got out of his vehicle, and then Brown charged him, and that's when he was shot.
But so much of this is built on lies, and the lies are like they're manufactured and then shown over and over and over again. And I don't want to be Magneto just going out there and saying, look, everyone who disagrees with me is Hitler. But that's literally how Hitler and the Nazis did it. You repeat the lie loud enough and often enough, and people start to buy it.
Yep. It's true.
But then they think they're good guys.
What's that?
Then they think they're the good guys.
Well, this is it, right? This comes with the ideological possession. I mean, yeah, okay, Stalin was a bad guy, but I'm not him, and my communist utopia will be different, right?
Of course.
I'm a good person, and I know I'm a good person because I know you're a bad person, and I oppose you, and I think you need to hang. So, it's
there's been this weird groundbreaking thought that some people have been saying. It is possible to not only be anti-fascist, but to also be anti-communist at the same time.
That's not in keeping with the history of the Antifa Action Organization. Of
course not. No.
But
and actually, this they attribute it to Churchill, but it's not. It's from a Italian journalist in the 60s when they were actually having like a serious, like almost civil war, basically like what's happening in the U.S. right now, right, where street fighters were taking over chunks of Italy. That the reporter said there's two kinds of fascists in Italy right now: the fascists and the anti-fascists.
Yeah,
and that's about the truth of it.
Well, you got to ask, okay, so you're anti-fascist. What is it about fascism you oppose? Well, I oppose, burning books. I oppose censorship. I oppose the marginalization of people. So, in response to that, we're going to burn these books, tear down these monuments, marginalize people who are white, marginalize people who don't agree with us. But we're anti-fascist. Yeah, no, it's ludicrous, and I don't know. Civil War in the U.S., is it the Boogaloo? I don't have my Boogaloo shirt on tonight, but I think it's coming. I think November is going to be when we see it. When we see it, come to a head, it's going to be full on display at that point. Either that, or it'll be a national divorce. It'll be an ugly divorce.
Tim Pool is convinced it is happening now. And we might not mark it in the calendars 50 years from now as it was already begun. We're going to look for a bigger event, but if there's a bigger event in the next year, he's not wrong. It's already happening. And that big event is just going to be the calendar event.
Right. In the same way that, July 4th isn't actually Independence Day, but it's the day that they celebrate, right?
Sure. Or the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, right? Tensions were high long before that.
Right.
They have to be. It, it's not so cut and dry. But yeah,
Climate Barbie. Was that Goebbels or Climate Barbie? Climate Barbie, if I'm not mistaken, are you speaking about Greta Thunberg?
no, Our Lady, Catherine McKenna.
Oh, she's Climate Barbie.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, kind of pretty. All climate change, and also, but she did get drunk and say at a bar to an undercover reporter, "Yeah, no, if you just keep repeating your talking point and you keep yelling it at people, people will believe you."
It's true. Politics is based on that.
But that was like it was. It should have been oh my god,
yeah,
they're not different from this tactic. The tactic is that bad. We have to put an end to it. But no one cares.
no, I think people are jaded, right? They realize that politicians are lying to them. They realize that the media is lying to them. Media is not very well respected. Even in Canada, it's not very well respected. It's only the normies that are, hanging on the Prime Minister's every word and hanging on the global news and CBC's every word about what to do next with regards to COVID. And yeah, but most people who are engaged, they don't trust the media. They don't trust the government. And it's also the Saul Alinsky thing too, right? You accuse your enemy of that which you are guilty, right? So they accused Donald Trump. Sorry to keep bringing up Trump, but they accused Donald Trump of trying to steal the election and work with Russia to steal the election, when in reality, it was the Democrat Party that did the exact thing, right? To try and steal the election.
Well, what's that meme of Putin having a wink and saying, if I wanted to influence the American election, I would have donated to the Clinton Foundation?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it would have been that simple, right? And I bet you if Putin had called up Hillary Clinton 6 months prior to her, announcing her candidacy and said, hey, we'd love for you and Bill to come speak at the Kremlin and we'll pay you $500 million to do it, she'd be all over it.
Yeah, of course.
I wouldn't doubt it if we look back and saw that she did speak in front of Russian oligarchs and Russian politicians back in the day. I bet she did. I'm not going to research it, but I wouldn't doubt it.
But yeah, no, I mean, for a long time, I really thought that Canada and the U.S. were, to a degree, analogous, and we were just a little bit behind. And watching Trump get elected, I was like, okay, this is the time. We're gonna have our election, and we're gonna see this crazy fucking shift from our silent majority. Mm-hmm. Turns out, most of Canada is fucking normies.
Yeah, we don't care. It's going to take something really. It's going to be something really egregious that's going to get everybody in Canada to wake up. But I think it's almost like a physical law of nature that if you try and oppress and repress people, and you go to a specific point, there is a tipping point where everybody says, "No, fuck this shit. We're fighting back." And I made a joke tweet today saying Canadian Boogaloo, because somebody said, hey, why isn't nobody talking about this, or what is it going to take for us to actually wake up? And I said, Canadian Boogaloo. I don't really want a civil war in Canada, but I don't want to keep just accepting the kind of shit that they put us through day in and day out. So no, I think there will be a pushback. I don't know if we're ever going to elect a Maxime Bernier or a Derek Sloan. Have you followed the CPC leadership race?
A little bit. I mean, I've been very jaded about the CPC.
Yeah, me too. I was a member for a while. I voted in the leadership race back when Max was running.
Yeah.
And I voted for Max. But he didn't win, although I think he actually did win, but they gave it to Scheer anyway. But
a little bit of corruption in all the politics.
Well, right? That's just it, right? They have their lobbies that they've got to appease, and it was the dairy lobby, and that's why Scheer got in. But I don't think we're gonna hit. I don't think we're gonna at the point where we get a Maxime Bernier, but maybe. Derek Sloan is apparently he's kind of like the red pilled CPC candidate. He's more like Trump than Aaron O'Toole or McKay. So I don't know very much about his platform positions, but this is the buzz I'm getting on the internet that Derek Sloan is the only true conservative, traditional, Preston Manning type conservative, right?
I keep seeing his stuff on Twitter, and it's not that I don't like what I see. It's that I'm so ready to find a thing there that's going to disappoint me greatly, so I try to ignore it as much as I can.
I don't follow him on Twitter. I probably should, just so I know a little bit more about where he's coming from.
That's just how jaded I am, that it's like,
Yeah.
oh, what's that? You're part of this CPC party? No, you're probably no good. You're probably as useless as everybody else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can only go by what the person says and their record. Now, my understanding is he doesn't have much of a record because he's relatively young and new. But yeah, the CPC have been, the Canadian Conservatives have always been slightly center right or almost center, and the Liberals were always slightly center left. But now they've gone full left. They've taken the NDP shtick, and the Conservatives. I don't know that they. I think because conservatism is kind of defensive game, you can't have to constantly cede ground a little bit, so it ends up turning them that much more left. So I don't trust the CPC to be conservative anymore.
Yeah, and I had this conversation with a neighbor where he was like, I was trying to tell him, look, all of politics, especially in Canada, more so than the US, has shifted left more and more over the past 60, 70 years, right? That even our conservatives are, to a degree, left of center. They're left of center on a lot of things and right of center on a couple of things that make them still fundamentally conservative, I guess.
Yeah.
He was like, no, what are you talking about? And I was like, hold on, guy. 70 years ago, if you said you were a communist, you would be rounded up, black bagged, and taken away like the McCarthyism days. And now you're openly saying communism is a good thing. And everyone is like, yeah, that's so stunning and brave of you. It's like, what? How do you not think that everything has not shifted left?
Yeah.
Of course it has.
Well, this is the thing, right? The progressives are very aggressive, especially when they're on the outside, right? So when you get guys like Trump in, or you got a guy, say, like Maxime Bernier or Bolsonaro, or what's his name, Muppet Man Suit guy in the UK, Boris Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Who, quite frankly, Boris Johnson is not terribly conservative, but when the left party is out, that's when they ramp it up, because they figure, shit, we've got to do it. And I think that's what we're seeing now in the US. They're really ramping it up because I think they realize they're losing. At the end of the day, they're losing. So it's like, death throes of their movement. But I don't know. But they and conservatism, because of its nature, has to play defensively. They're all constantly saying, no, don't take this away. And progressivism, liberalism, leftism is like, no, we need to change this. We need to remove the old and make new. And conservatives are always like, no, we need to keep at least some of the old, so we'll give you this. So they're always constantly conceding a little ground. It's tough to be a conservative and maintain your values and maintain, because progress is inevitable. And I don't mean progress in the positive sense. I just mean change towards something is inevitable. And just because you're progressing doesn't mean just because you're moving forward, as they say, doesn't mean you're going to like where you end up. So
yeah, but there is a word there you use that I take issue.
What's that?
Liberalism.
Well,
no, that's not what that is.
It's not liberal. You're right. It's not.
Like John Stuart Mill. Liberalism, libertarianism.
Right.
Being a proper liberal, like we're supposed to live in Western liberal democracies. To call some of these leftist authoritarian ideas liberal is wrong. That's not liberalism at all.
No.
That we're supposed to be arguing over how rich should we allow an individual to be before we say, hey, can you please give us something, and not be mad about what we're taking from you to aid the whole society that helped you get rich.
Right.
Right?
I should have clarified. When I say liberalism, I mean large L liberalism, as in liberal party.
Okay.
Right. So,
but I mean, that's what I mean is large L liberal party has now become a major misnomer. They are by no means,
they're not liberal.
They're not liberal at all. And it's just Rose.
What?
No, Irish Rose in the chat there. Yes.
She says she loves you too. Gross.
Good to hear from you, Rose.
Oh, you said Rose, not gross. I apologize. I thought you said her saying love you too was gross. And that's not the case.
No. God, no.
Hi, Irish Rose.
Her love is so pure.
Well, that's nice. Is she in Ireland? Irish Rose, are you in Ireland, or you just happen to be Irish?
No, she's Ajax's wife.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the stream.
Yeah. But, I mean, where was I? Like, yeah, no. Liberal is a thing that refers to liberty.
Yeah.
The personal liberty, the individual liberties. That's the thing that.
But liberal.
Go ahead.
Liberal can also mean to be liberal with your action, right? So, when you have an ointment and it says apply liberally to affected area, it means put a lot on. So when liberal means we're going to take action, it means we're going to take actions liberally. We're going to take liberties with how we're going to do things, as opposed to we're going to fight for your liberties. But I take your point. The modern left is illiberal. They're not liberal. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and okay. So let me see if I can share something here, because I want your opinion on this.
Oh boy.
I have, geez. Are you kidding? I can't do it from here? Okay.
Why not?
Yeah, it's just something weird.
Just hit the share screen button.
Yeah, no, I know, but I messed up my my tabs.
I'm just messing with you. Is it a tweet?
Yes, but it's a video of a tweet.
Okay.
And I want to show a particular video because Andy Ngo is, I don't know how he's getting this video footage, because he can't be there. They would kill him.
He goes on the ground. He's a fucking badass. He goes on the ground to these places.
I'm having trouble accepting that he would be able to survive this, to be honest.
Of
course, there was that other guy that he got. Do you remember seeing this? The Asian dude in a suit, and people started screaming, "Fuck you, Andy!" And he's like, "Do you think I'm Andy? No."
So you're saying all Asians look alike? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, you racist Antifa assholes?
That's what the Antifa assholes were saying.
Oh, man. No, my understanding is he goes on the ground. And I think he probably keeps a fair good distance and probably tries to hide his identity. All right, yeah, I can see it here.
Okay. So.
Is this the moms?
No. This is something else. And, okay. Do you see the idea is that the rioters are trying to face off federal law enforcement? They have a line formation with shields and are moving on command. Note the communist symbol. You see this really shitty phalanx that is.
It's umbrellas.
There are umbrellas. There's plastic shields. There's half a fucking oil drum. There's a chunk of plastic. Okay. Now, I know that tactic is ancient. I know it is outmoded. But there is no way to say that tactic is not combative.
Of course it is.
That is a combat tactic.
Yep.
At that point, when the rioters are forming ranks and pushing forwards shield first, is that a kind of aggression? And this is why I'm overreacting. Very likely. I want your opinion. Is that the kind of thing where the police can just be like, oh no, fuck this, and fire into the crowd?
They would, or if they would, I don't think they would though, right? Because they've been told to stand down, and they're not helping out.
Sure. Let's
the federal officers, let's say,
yes, that they're standing there. That look, because police do this. They have riot shields and batons and helmets, and they form ranks.
Yep, and then they push them along. Yeah.
At that point, are the police justified to just draw their firearms and fire into that crowd? Because that's combative.
I love Judge Dredd, and I think we could use some judges.
See, so now you're overreacting, and
you know what? I'll be honest. I'm at this point where I'm like, you know what? I don't live there. I can't really speak to it. So, but I do want some serious law and order action. I don't think we need judges armed with battle armor and special guns and say, okay, you've been judged guilty, and now I'm going to shoot you in the head. But I do think that law and order needs to be maintained, and it's crazy for me because I'm a libertarian, and I don't like the idea of force. But at this point, this is what the police are there for. You've got a group of people that are violating the rights of other people, and the purpose of the police is to protect people and their rights. So, yeah, I think the police should be much more aggressive in this sense. But the problem is that they don't have the license to do so, because even if the city said, yeah, get rid of them, they know full well that if they, somebody makes a bad move, it's going to be all over the news, and then the whole narrative of police brutality, of peaceful protesters, it's just going to escalate, and it's just gonna bite them in the ass. So that's why so many people in the police forces are basically quitting, saying, "Look, you don't have my back, and I'm not going to get thrown in jail for doing my job, so I quit." Right. But no, I do believe that the police need to show force, and especially in a situation like that. Yeah, okay, so they had umbrellas and lawn chairs, but they did that basically so you can't see their faces mainly. But ultimately, yeah, if you're moving as a phalanx, so to speak, and the reason they did now that video isn't.
I don't care if it's poorly executed.
No,
that is a phalanx, and they are moving by command. Yeah. They are being ordered to move forward and to halt so others can catch up.
No, I believe that they are a legitimate insurrection force. So they're not just protesters. They're not just a bunch of LARPers. I mean, they are, but they're acting effectively. The reason they did this, I don't know if you saw the whole video, but they did that so they could get up to the barricades, tear through the plywood, and set a fire inside the federal building. So they did it so that because the federal officers were behind the barricades inside the building, and this way they're covered from tear gas or what have you, and basically they did that so they could get up close enough they could tear a hole through the wood, smash a window, and shoot commercial grade firecrackers and fireworks into the federal building. That's what they did.
Break the window, because from what I saw, they were struggling for the better part of 2 minutes to break a window with a fire.
I think they gave it the college try. I think they ultimately were successful because they did attack. The word is that they did attack people within the federal building. Agents in the federal building were injured and attacked. So yeah. Hi, Quick Dub. One Quick Dub. Get fucking what's his name, Carl Urban out there and give him one of those super guns and just put them 20 days in an ISO cube. I don't care.
But that's what I mean is because I thought I was overreacting.
I don't think you're overreacting.
Once I see that line, all those shields marching forward on command, and then stopping, waiting for the rest of the line to catch up, if the police decide, okay, light them up.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Well, I mean, you give them a warning and say, disperse or we'll open fire. And you're not talking about lighting them up with 223s or
Oh,
five,
no.
5.56 NATOs. We're talking about rubber bullets, pepper bullets.
No. You want to give them a warning and
Yeah.
say disperse or else. This is a military formation. It is outmoded, absolutely.
Sure.
And they are underarmed compared to their adversary, but they have taken tactical military action against the police. And
Right.
if the police decide, light them up lethal, like, yeah, take our rifles, take our pistols, and plow into them, I'm okay with that. That's what I meant by overreacting. This is
lethal
now
force. I don't know about lethal force. I don't.
You called them an insurrection. I agree on that front. And at this point, if they're that organized, yes, that's an army, and you are now defending the state against that army, and I think that's justifiable.
I see your point, but I want you to look and do the A to B to Z thinking. If they did that, what would happen? Now we're talking. Wouldn't be regular police. This would be the federal forces because the regular pieces have abandoned. But imagine the federal officers, had left the building to try and quell this situation, and they opened fire with 5.56 NATO, right? Yep. Or even buckshot, let's say, and they kill a few people. Then basically. They've played right into the media's hands. They've played right into the Democrats' hands. And it comes down to, see, Trump is a dictator. He's using his death squads to kill these peaceful protesters. Because that's how it would be played.
Yeah, and I get it, but I'm not super concerned with the media play at this. I'm concerned with the lives of the law enforcement agents that are tasked with this.
Me too.
And here we are with what is now an organized, militarized force moving forward in a tactical military formation.
Right. Now, it's because it looks so inept and because it looks so haphazard that it would be bad optics were they to do it. Now, let's replace Antifa and the BLM and everybody who is there doing it, and let's put an actual militia there, guys who are wearing, tactical vests with plates in them, and they had riot shields or they had proper protective shields, and firearms.
Yeah.
Right? Then you absolutely would expect them to do it.
It's the key.
Right? Because they didn't have fire. If they had firearms, light them up. But I'd be inclined to say if I were an officer in that situation, and I had my wherewithal and I had the license to do it, it would at the very least be pepper balls and rubber bullets,
smoke,
big bang cannons, tear gas. Tear gas is tough though because the wind changes; it's blowing in your own face.
But see, they call everything tear gas.
I know.
It's just smoke.
Yeah.
Like it's not properly tear gas. It's not a chemical weapon. It's just smoke. Very okay with that. Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're right. Okay. I don't like it, but you're right.
Sorry, man. I just I do think we may be headed for a totalitarian regime if things don't get quelled.
And see, here's the problem: is if these idiots don't settle the fuck down, I'm almost ready to be okay with a totalitarian regime. Like that's how bad they're making it. That I don't want a totalitarian regime, but if they don't behave, then you got to beat your children.
Yeah, you got to smack them. It's true. They haven't been smacked. They've never been smacked, and they need to be smacked. I don't know. I the federal officers at the federal building in Portland, I guess it's Portland, right? They've retreated back inside their building, but they can't abandon it because it's federal. It's a federal courthouse.
Yeah.
And Tim Pool was talking about this. People are saying, well, they should just leave. Well, no, they can't leave because these rioters will then storm the building, and all the records, all the pending cases for all these federal criminals, they're basically lost, right?
Oh, and geez, if they tried to exit the building, they would be fucking lynched.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think they have like they have exits where they can go out and they're defensible because that's what they've been doing. They've been going out once the crowd disperses a little bit, and then they come out, and that's where they're putting them in the backs of vans, right? So they're going out some garage entrance with a van from Enterprise Rental Car, and they're basically black bagging them after they've got video footage of them setting fire to shit, throwing bricks at windows and that kind of stuff. But I don't know, man.
They haven't disabled all the cameras.
No. But yeah, I'm on board with Carl Urban going out there with this super gun.
See, and there's something else you mentioned. It was sort of in passing that their phalanx is poorly executed. They're bad at all of this.
Yeah,
and
they are bad at all this, but they're effective enough that people are still backing them. The Democrats are still backing them.
But I think that's actually been a disconnect between the left and right. That when the left decides to be horrifically violent, they're not particularly effective. It doesn't justify their actions, right? That we've seen, my God, this building that's constantly under siege, basically. It really is under siege.
Yep.
Is protected by particle board. No, not even particle board. It's press board.
Yeah.
Particle board is far more stable.
Yeah.
This is press board. It's chunks of wood and shavings that are glued together. And these motherfuckers are having trouble even setting fire to it.
Yeah. Yeah, because the windows are double pane, and they would be. It's difficult to break those windows, right? It's not impossible, but it's difficult. But that's why they put the press board up. They put the press board up so the windows wouldn't be broken.
But the press board is press board, and they don't have the knowledge or the tools to effectively remove the press board. Like that whole thing is surrounded in press board. You give me 2 hours, I will remove all the press board from. I'm not even good at this stuff, and I take down all the press board.
You saw their garden, right? None of these people have any life skills whatsoever.
But that's part of what I mean. It doesn't matter that they're not good at it; they're doing it, and that's bad. Like if a 4-year-old is running around amidst a bunch of adults and punching them in the thigh, just as hard as he can.
Charlie horsing them, yeah.
He's trying, but he doesn't have the strength to Charlie horse an adult. But he's trying so much with all of his rage to hurt an adult.
Yeah.
You still don't let that slide.
No, you don't.
You correct that child quickly because, that's not acceptable behavior.
No, they need to be smacked down. You're absolutely right, and that's why it's such a dereliction of duty on the part of the city leaders and the state leaders to say, well, it's just a summer of love. I mean, I know that was in Chop and Chaz, but they're just protesters. They're not just protesters at this point. Protesters carry signs and chant. They don't carry bricks and fireworks and try and set fire to shit.
You had said this earlier, something about this, and I was making a joke about it. They literally called their moms, and now there's moms against the Trump intervention. Like that, these Antifa guys who are so inept, so soy-boyed useless that they can't take down press board and can't set fire to press board and can't break windows. They're like, Mom,
can you help us?
Let us burn down the federal building.
No, my understanding is that now this is coming from Tim Pool, but if you look at the photos, apparently the ones who are putting moms on their shirt or whatever,
Yeah.
They're not actually moms. They're just other Antifa in disguise, so
Very
that that they catch the people off guard. Nobody wants to shoot a mom with a pepper ball. So
yeah, but it's the same idea.
excuse me, I had to sneeze. So they're doing this so that then the crowd can storm the place, and then those moms just trickle back into the crowd, right? So this was the so Frank Blaskowitz, sorry if I butchered your name there. Does anyone know if Michelle Goldberg has condemned any rioting or looting? She's the one that Jordan Peterson asked, when does the left go too far? Good question. I don't know. I don't read Michelle Goldberg. I read one of her pieces and I'm like, this woman's out to lunch. But I have a feeling that this isn't far enough as far as she's concerned. That these kids, these basement dwellers are they're fighting the good fight. So my guess is she's probably on board with them doing this. But because again, she's only privy to what her bubble is showing her, and her bubble is telling they're just peaceful protesters. They're not rioters. Yeah. They're they're raising their grievances against an unjust society, and they're just being loud. No, they're being violent, and yeah, they need a spanking.
Yeah, and there was a couple of tweets or a couple of headlines saying, "Oh, the fires being set were actually right-wing people."
Yeah, sure.
And it's like just like the Nazi Reichstag fire, that they set it up so that they could justify their. And someone else was immediately like, "No, don't take this away from the leftist fucking mob." That, yeah, no, it was a great success for them. It's like, okay, hold on. All of this is garbage.
Yeah.
And my major problem here is that even the fucking basement dwelling people, all right, basement dwelling leftist neckbeards that decide to put on a helmet and a mask and roll out there with their ridiculously fat, useless personas and fail to set fire to fucking press board. They're trying their best. Yep. And they're doing it en masse. There's literally hundreds, maybe thousands in some cases.
Yeah.
And then a right-wing person, and I'm glad he brought up Jordan Peterson, who explains that the left are more creative and the right are more efficient. One right-wing person decides, I'm going to drive my car through this crowd, and nails a bunch of people. And now everyone's like, oh, right-wing extremism. Guy, oh, no. Hold on. That one right-wing guy is more effective. That doesn't mean that the right is that bad. That means that the left is the hundreds of 4-year-old children punching everyone in the thigh, and they're bad at it, but we shouldn't give them a pass.
No.
And when that one right-wing guy is very effective with his violence, and we shut him down, that guy's in jail for life. Okay,
how could you hit a child? Right, that's the thing. That would be the answer. How can you spank a child? You can't. It's not your child. Don't spank it.
Well, but no, Italian immigrant. Okay, how do you?
So who is? Which was this? When was this? The guy drove his car through a bunch of them.
Charlottesville.
Oh, you're praising the guy in Charlottesville.
No. What I'm saying.
Oh, I see. He was effective.
The police funneled the right-wing crowd into the group of leftists,
right?
Who were very violent. They were violent from the beginning, but they were bad at it. So every one of them, hundreds of them, were being violent but not effective. And then one guy lost his shit, drove his car through a crowd of people. That's one person hitting hundreds of people or dozens of people and doing more damage in a single shot. And suddenly the right wing is bad. The left is that ridiculous, crazy violent, but they're bad at it. The right is not like that. But the one time a guy loses his shit, oh, goddamn, he's effective. Because that's how the right is, effective.
Well, I mean, it reminds me of the truck of peace in I want to say it was it in Nice like a few years back?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it was like a cube van. There's a bunch of people walking along the street. It was like a night sort of festival, street
Geez, it might
festival.
have been England.
What's that?
There's been a couple of places
Yeah,
where the
the big one though was this guy drove his cube van through a crowd of people and he killed dozens
oh
and
god, was this
injured 30 or more. And it's insane. Like that's all it takes. I mean, that happens in the UK. It happened in the UK several times too. There's trucks of peace, they call them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm just waiting. If the federal authorities can't be there because the state government doesn't want them there, and they won't accept the help. I know there's the Legend Act that Donald Trump has passed, where he's basically going to go and send federal troops to quell the violence in these cities. But if the state government says, I think it's I want to say 15th Amendment, but I could be wrong, says, no, get out. This is our jurisdiction. Get the hell out. They kind of have to, right? Unless they've got probable cause that it's going to be a national situation. Then I wouldn't be surprised if you'll see people coming out from the suburbs and the rural areas of these states in their pickup trucks and basically saying enough is enough. But maybe not. Maybe they'll just go, fuck, glad they're not out here. The problem is if you don't take them out there, they will eventually go there, right? So,
and I'm not sure.
there was a truck of peace attack on Yonge Street in Toronto. Yeah, I think there was, wasn't there?
No, he wasn't a truck of peace. That was Alex Manassian, properly an incel. But
he was an incel.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Now they've used that to make incel an ideology, and not an unfortunate coincidence of your life.
Well, if you're involuntary celibate, I don't know that can be considered an ideology. If you're voluntary celibate, yeah, that could be a life choice.
No, the poor guys can't get laid, and because they can't get laid, now they've built this ideology.
Yeah, they're frustrated with women.
It's bull.
It is bullshit.
But it was not a truck of peace, which is literally a reference to Islam.
Yeah.
Let's go get my stream shut down here.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I'm not going to say you're totally wrong, because I was saying back when there were all this shit going on in Europe with ISIS and other groups, that I was saying at one point, you know what? If I ever saw ISIS people marching down the street of Toronto or my city with ISIS flags and hollering, I would be very quick to arm up, because I don't want that ideology taking root here. I feel kind of the same way about communism, but I'm not at the point yet, because I'm in the suburbs and it hasn't hit here yet. Though I did see someone paint BLM and ACAB somewhere here in Burlington. ACAB, is that all cops are bitches or all cops are bad?
All cops are bastards.
All cops are bastards. Okay. Yeah, so I saw that here in Burlington. It was just shortly after the George Floyd thing.
You know what? It's so easy to just twist it into all commies are bastards.
Yeah, all communists aren't people.
Fools. Oh yeah.
Was it? You were saying it. Where there was that general who said, feel like?
He's a fucking soldier. He was
a soldier. What does it feel like to kill a man? I don't know. I've only ever killed communists.
Yeah. Something like 60 plus confirmed kills. And he's like,
what does it feel like to kill all those people? I don't know. I've never killed people. I've only ever killed communists. That's why I say Augusto Pinochet is a Chilean national hero.
That's why 6 included the helicopter in my diorama.
Oh yeah,
just for me. Oh
yeah, I'm worried about what's going to go on in the United States over the next few months. I'll be honest. I'm still have a plan My wife's asleep, right? She shouldn't hear this. I still have a plan to cash in some of my mutual funds and buy some land in Arizona. But I'm not going to do that until I know what's going to happen in the next, several months.
I have a plan to wait until our rights are really properly being infringed to the degree that the United States has to recognize it, and I will just claim asylum.
There you go. Yeah, my country does not. My country does not recognize my inalienable rights.
So let's circle to coronavirus.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm still a little bit coherent, and
Cogent,
we
yeah.
have some time.
Sounds good.
My buddy was all like, "Oh no, Irving, you're wrong. You're wrong about coronavirus. We have to protect the old people, and we have to wear masks and all this." Until he was confronted by it, that he was driving from way out west to Toronto to visit and stopped at a hotel.
Okay.
He had a reservation. He walked into the hotel, and the first thing that happened was he was not greeted. He was told, "Oh, no, you can't come in. You have to wear a mask." And suddenly it hit him. This is weird. This is wrong. Like, something's wrong with this.
Yeah.
Right? That in the lobby of a hotel, he's 15, 20 feet from the receptionist, and you can't come in. Go out and put on your mask.
What province was this in?
Ontario.
In Ontario. See, this is the thing, and that's not. I mean, this is the problem with the law that's been written in terms of the mandate in Ontario. Viva Fry was talking about this. It's very vague and very arbitrary. And here's the thing: it's so open to interpretation. You walk into a lobby where there's nobody around except the person behind the desk. Well, you can socially distance in that situation. You shouldn't be forced to wear a mask. But if you're going to a place where there's lots of people and it's tough to be socially distanced, then the recommendation or the mandate is wear a mask. And I was talking to my friends. I do Tuesday night gaming with my friends, and I was saying, look, I don't have an issue with wearing a mask. I have an issue with being told I must wear a mask, and I will wear a mask if it's not an inconvenience to me. But I do take issue with the state telling me wear that mask or else.
Yes.
And if a store says I can't shop there unless I wear a mask, then and I desperately need to shop at that store, I'll put on a mask. I'm gonna order one that says obey.
This is the policy, and I want to shop there. Then I will freely associate with that store owner by abiding by his policy.
Right. But the problem is because everyone's so hysterically afraid of this thing now that they're not using their common sense. Like, I'm in a lobby of a hotel. It's this massive open space. It's not crowded with other people. And you're behind a counter, and I can stand more than 6 feet away from you. Even though the 6 feet rule is like, it's another arbitrary rule, which doesn't make any sense. If it's airborne, it's airborne. And if it's droplet based, you're not going to spread it unless you're sneezing and coughing anyway, or you're spitting while you speak. So it's Justin was talking about that too. You should wear it because you could touch your face and then touch a doorknob or whatnot. I get it, but if you're wearing a mask, you're more likely to touch your face anyway because it's not normal for people to be wearing masks. They're not used to it, right? So you are likely to touch your face, and then anyway, I am going to order one of those masks that I designed. I think I'm going to order this is a PSYOP or obey or make antibodies great again. I think want me to share those?
Can you cover the stream for about 60 seconds?
Yeah, go for it, man. I'll share those mask designs. All right, let me share that screen. Share screen. I want to go open those windows. Sorry. All right. Pardon me, folks. I'm not used to taking control with. Why won't it let me share the screen? Choose what you like to. One moment. I'm going to try this again. There we go. So I came up with these mask designs for you folks. Make antibodies great again is the first one, and I think I might order that. Obey is another one. Akin to the They Live movie by John Carpenter. This is a psyop. I like that one a fair bit. Stay scared in nice happy script font. Celebrities know what's best. I'm ripping that off of Mark Dice. And then I trust my government. I think I had one more. Oh no, that was it. I was in. It was in 20. This is that tweet I was telling you all about. If you were writing a book about 20, what would be your first sentence be? It was in 2019 that the enemy concluded they were going to lose again, so they implemented their plan to destroy everything in 2020. Anyway, I'll stop sharing now because I think Irving's back. Are you back, Irving?
Of course, I forgot to share your stream. I had to do that before we.
Oh, I shared it. Did it not show up?
No, it didn't show. I have to allow it. Yeah.
Oh.
We just got a glimpse of it, but here's mine.
All right. That's the masks don't work.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
And you know what? I thought I would get more looks and talk about it, and only the people that have to directly interact with me look at it, and then they stop. Right? They just stop dead and give me this look. And I don't know if you can see that I'm smiling, that I'm laughing behind the mask.
I can tell by your eyes you're smiling and laughing behind the mask.
I hope so, because I look at them and I give them a smile, but I'm in a mask. And how can you fucking tell? How can you tell who's smiling, who's joking, who's in a good mood, in a bad mood? This is I'm in my own fucking house. I can't even do it. I can't do it for longer than 30 seconds. It is so horrible.
It's uncomfortable, yeah.
We're a social animal, and we're actually very good armchair psychologists. We can tell a person's mood from a half mile. Right? We can tell without seeing their face. We can tell by their body language. But when they're right up in front of us, we have to judge by their face.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When there's a counter between you and I, you can't see all of my body language. You can't see my foot position, the way my hips are shifted. You don't know if I have an aggressive tendency towards you. You have to judge it by my face. And now my face is covered. Right. And I can tell you're smiling. Maybe you know me.
Yeah, right? I can see it in your eyes.
Maybe you're familiar enough with me to see in my eyes that, we go back a long way now.
Yeah.
Right? That you can see it in my eyes when I'm smiling, when I'm smirking. Maybe someone else thinks, oh, this guy's going to murder me.
Well, hey, you know what? But armed robbers have never had it easier.
For sure.
Right? They can go in now with a mask and not arouse suspicion and then pull out a gun. So good on them.
What was that joke about how, a bunch of people walk into the bank with masks on and, thank God they're just robbing the place.
None of them are sick. Irving, you're into comic books like I am.
Sometimes.
Back when I worked at a comic book store, I remember reading one, and I don't think it was Astro City, but it was an alternative superhero book. It was a cape book. And I can't remember for the life of me what the title was. But I remember there was a particular scene. Now, keep in mind, this is ages ago. This is before, the modern era, the modern, social zeitgeist that we're in. And this was long before I knew anything about, Jordan Peterson or communism or anything like that. Really. Anyway, I remember reading this book, and in one of the pages, this superhero swoops down after saving everyone from some villain. And a scientist is there saying, "Oh, thank you. You won't believe what we have planned, but it's going to be amazing." And then he lays out very briefly that the plan is to implement a new world order that is a mix of communism and Islam. And the superhero, I think, is disgusted by the idea, and so he like shoves this scientist down. And as he's flying away, he says, "You can't stop it; it's going to happen." And and now that I keep thinking about this, I'm like, okay, so now they want us all to cover our faces, like in Islamic countries,
Right.
and the new world order, the globalists. It's clear that they want a centralized communist sort of approach because of climate change, because of all these crises that humanity faces. They need a centralized government to control, the means of production and how things are produced and how things are distributed. And you think about how the media over the last 5 years have given a pass to Islam and towed the line and made concessions. And it leads me to think that this guy who wrote this comic book, he might have known something. Do you know what comic book this might have been? I can't for the life of me remember it.
But it sounds like a proper prophet. Like,
Yeah.
I look back at some of the music from the 90s, and it's like Marilyn Manson was a prophet. He didn't know it. He long left the path, but man, you listen to some of the lyrics of some of Antichrist Superstar. That dude was way ahead of his time.
Well, it's like, what's his name? Ted Kaczynski, right? He talked about how our automated lives will lead to our downfall, and he wasn't far off. The Unabomber wasn't far off on a lot of things.
The best thing he said was that liberals are generally against the concept of what's the word? Like
self-reliance?
No, competition for success, because they generally feel like losers.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, I don't think you need to bomb people, but that's what I mean. That's something I was saying earlier about the efficacy, that you have all of these losers banding together and failing to set a building on fire, and Ted Kaczynski goes and lives on his own in the fucking bush for like 2.5 years, and then comes back and burns down a whole building, killing hundreds of people.
Mm-hmm.
The right is not that, but they're better at it when they do it.
Well, that's just it, right?
And that's what makes people afraid of it, is that how good the right is at executing whatever plan it is, whether it's good or bad.
It's because conscientiousness, right? It's the 5 personality traits.
Well,
people on the left tend towards compassion. People on the right tend towards conscientiousness and structure and authority and that sort of thing. So you very seldom find someone on the left, someone very left, who is in good shape, has good hygiene, is attractive. You take a look at all the pictures of the soy boys and the radical feminists. They all are the most unappealing physically. And then you look at the people on the right. Like, there's a YouTuber I watch. His channel is called ZNA Productions. It used to be called Z Not Alpha. And basically, he's this young kid who's been doing this for years. He basically makes like apocalypse weapons. He takes like hardware store stuff and he welds them and fashions them into apocalypse weapons. And he's really funny. He's got decent soundtrack to his videos, and he does like, the mix of the speed build and that sort of thing. But he's a Christian and he's very conservative. He's jacked. He's in really good shape. And yeah, he never swears. He's like a very, very conservative, very Christian, but he's competent. He knows what he's doing, and he's self-taught. You don't find that with people on the left.
Competent, is the key word there. That so many people, and I get it. Like, so many of my people online, so many of the friends I've made, we are friends because we're artists. We went to school for art,
Yeah.
right? I at my core am a free spirit, liberal. Like, what's that? You want to put your junk in X person's face? As long as they're willing, I'm fine. But like, I
Yeah.
don't care about what goes on in your life. But when you decide what goes on in my life is a problem,
Yeah.
we're going to have a problem. When did the religious right become the progressive left? When did that happen?
Yeah. Well,
That
when
suddenly,
did the
oh
left?
my God, if you don't want to date a trans person, you're transphobic and you're hateful and you're a Nazi. What? Are you fucking what? Motherfucker.
I only want to date one trans person. So
I,
you know
we
that video
tried
she
so
talked
hard.
about. You know the video where she made
We
that the
tried so hard, okay? And
she never
so
even
many
noticed it.
people liked and retweeted
Yeah.
our tweets on that, and she did not give us
No.
any play.
Well, it's funny. Her next video after that one about if you don't date a trans person or you don't want to date a you're transphobic. Well, now she's doing about the trans chasers.
Chasers.
Yeah. So the people who fetishize trans people, I don't fetishize trans people. I just think Blair White's really hot.
Exactly. And that's my point. Is that like she's literally not different to me from other biological females to whom I'm attracted. I just find her in that same echelon of hot as
Yeah.
all these women that I find hot.
Yeah.
So
That's
good
just
for
it.
her, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't find Buck Angel attractive at all. And Buck Angel is technically female.
Look, Buck ain't than most fucking men today.
I know.
So
Yeah.
that's
He kicked my ass. You go down on me or I'll kick your ass. All right, lady. I mean, sir. Oh, well. Anyway.
oh yeah, but that efficacy argument is just fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I can't.
But this is what has me concerned, right? I think eventually you're going to see people on the right who, like you said, are better at this sort of shit because they're the ones who go to the range every weekend, and they are the ones who've stockpiled guns and ammo for the last 20 years, and they're going to say, okay, this is it. We'll show them how it's done, and then they're going to storm Portland or Seattle or whatever, and they're gonna tear everyone a new asshole, and it's not going to be pretty. I don't
Yeah.
want to see that happen. But if nothing's done by the local leaders, nothing's done by the state governments, then it's inevitably going to happen. And I'm wondering if this is the plan. If, like I said, they realize they're not winning and they're just going to tear it all down. Because if they can't have it, then no one will.
But as far as I can tell, that plan is backfiring. Like it's so falling into Trump's realm.
Yeah.
That so many more people are like, oh my God, 54, is it 55 days now
Yeah.
in Portland?
Yeah.
That it didn't stop in other cities, but we're not hearing it in the mainstream media. And now we have this young guy, I can't remember his name. Jesus. Let me see if I can pull him up here. He's a young dude at a university, and he posted a picture, an Asian dude with his AR-15, and the university tried to say that he committed a fucking hate crime.
By posting a picture with his gun?
Yep. Oh, give me a second. I'm gonna share this with all of y'all. That's the wrong one. Hold on. Ugh. Did it again. Holy shit.
Well, that, yeah. Do you have the tab open? I can't even see if you have the tab open.
Yeah, I do. It just.
Inception. That's awesome. Live stream Inception.
Oh, god damn it.
You have 2 screens, don't you?
Multiple, yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
And now I can't find the appropriate screen to tell it to don't.
It's all good, man.
No, yeah, a young Asian guy.
Well, Caitlin Bennett took shit for that too, right? She was the gun girl, and she took shit for it too. I think the university wanted to do something, but they backed down.
Caitlin Bennett's a troll. Like,
Yeah.
she and Nick Fuentes are same level.
No, but I mean, she originally became famous because she posed with a gun, right?
Yeah.
And that was before she started. I mean, you could call that a troll, I guess. But she was saying, no, I believe the Second Amendment, and she became famous because of that.
No, but they're feeding it now. Like,
oh, they are now. Yeah,
they're capitalizing on the troll aspect.
Yeah.
Same like Nick Fuentes, and you know what? Faith Goldie used to be properly political, but yeah, she left that realm, became a troll.
Lauren Southern too would agree, but apparently she's now since recanted, and she's going back to being like a serious documentarian.
And I want that. Right?
Me too. Yeah. I think it was fun for a while when she was with Rebel and she started doing those silly things. Like, I think it was fun and it was enjoyable to watch, but I mean, I think she's starting to realize now there's no shelf life in that. She's gonna have to be serious, or she's not gonna have a career. So she's gonna be a documentarian, which is good for her. There we go.
I did it? Okay.
Yep.
So
I got a knock on my door at midnight.
I'm gonna put the sound off and just let it run. I hope you can see
I can. You were holding an automatic weapon. Well, I think that's probably a semi-automatic.
No,
weapon.
it's an AR-15.
So it's a semi.
And he just fucking plastered automatic weapon and his university name on it. And yeah, no, they came to his door and tried to tell him he committed a hate crime, that he intimidated people, that he's right. And this is a guy who immigrated from China.
Yeah.
And has suffered under the same discrimination that they were saying, oh, Trump says that China virus, so all the Chinese are being persecuted. He's that guy.
Yeah.
And he loves this goddamn country. He loves the Second Amendment. And he's seeing all of the same things we're seeing, that the police forces are being forced to retreat by route or by order. And he got his own gun, posted a picture. He's going to show you here the picture that he posted. Just him holding his AR-15 with that beautiful trigger discipline. And that's why they came for him. And it's so fucking crazy. I should have paused some of those responses. Right, just to show that how they're ripping at him and linking it to the university so that the university can respond. Now, this is not the proper police; it's the university campus police,
right,
that respond. And so the NRA has taken up his cause, but until they resolve it, he's actually booted out of school.
So what did he show on his picture?
The picture's going to come up, but it's basically just him in the backyard like a sunny day, and he's holding his AR in a proper gun safety, muzzles at the ground, finger off the trigger, no.
But he doesn't have a sign, or he's wearing a shirt saying some slogan or anything.
He's just showing his gun. I bought a gun. And they fucking came for him.
Huh.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Like it's insane. That's your right as an American citizen, and he came here from another country.
Yeah. A
His
communist
parents
country, no
brought
less.
him here. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's embraced the culture, and they're trying to step on him for it. What are just so fucking stupid. I just want to say, quick dub, Tippy Canoe, Cryptic. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming. It has been a while. We're gonna do as many as we can over the next week or two.
Yeah, because we both have some time off, so we can do
Yep.
we can do multiple of these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, Civil War II, United States. It's going to come. I think it's going to come. The actual date, like you said, is going to be written 10 years from now. They'll say this was the actual date of the beginning. It will be, probably November 4th or something like that.
Mm.
Or 5th, because they probably won't have the actual accurate count until several days later because of mail-in voting shenanigans and all sorts of things.
And
this is the thing.
No
both sides have said they can't count on the results as being official because of all these threats to the democracy that come from Trump trying to cheat, or Trump calling into question mail-in voting, and it's a big fucking farce.
But there's no federal way for them to intervene with mail-in voting, right?
No. But they call into question.
State has to do it for themselves.
That's the thing, right? And each state, that's right, because it's a republic, right? It's not a. So, I don't know. Now, Boogaloo? Boogaloo now? Boogaloo?
I'm because apparently there's been a couple of state governors that have used their power to tell municipalities you cannot institute mask laws.
Okay.
And and we understand the levels of government, federal, state, or provincial, otherwise, and municipal. But the states have power over the municipalities to a degree.
Right.
So the Fed has power over the states to a degree.
Right.
So does that extend to mail-in voting? Can the Fed just say, like, if Donald Trump writes his name to it, can he say
an executive order?
Mail-in voting is illegal? It's hard, right?
He can write an executive order stating anything. It's the constitutionality of it.
Right.
But the problem is there's already provision in place for mail-in voting.
Yeah.
So he can't all of a sudden say it's now illegal. I think the issue is mass mail-in voting, where everybody votes by mail.
Yeah.
And we're not even going to open the polls. It's just going to be done by vote or by mail, which doesn't make sense to me.
That was part of the problem. It was like, okay, mail-in voting exists because, I'm currently out of country, but I still have a right to
absentee ballots. Yeah.
But then when they tried to say, everyone should mail in, suddenly Tim Pool is getting a mail-in ballot for someone who doesn't live there, and some other motherfucker is getting a fucking mail-in ballot for their cat.
So saw that.
That's obviously not feasible. Like
no. And it's been proven now because they've had all these special elections. These are these midterm appointments or midterm elections or whatever. I don't know what they call them, but basically, the post office misplaced like 1,500 or 15,000 ballots or something. Well, that's going to swing an election. So it's not. And I mean, whether there was some malice behind them misplacing it, I don't know. But the fact that they were misplaced means that 15,000 people were disenfranchised from their democratic process. And that can swing an election. So yeah, you can't rely on it to be. It's you can argue that there are some people who need to mail in their ballots. They're infirm, they can't make it to the polls, whatever, right?
You know what they don't tell you about voter ID laws?
What's that?
Oh, if you don't have ID, right? Because maybe you're black, and that means that
It's hard for
you're-
you to get an ID.
yeah, that you're shit at life and you can't get ID.
Yeah, that's the reason, right? Oh, it disenfranchises black and poor people.
If you're not registered, but you show up to your polling station with your ID, you can vote. You don't need to be a registered voter. You have to have ID, and then you can vote.
Yeah, you have to be able to prove you're in the district. You're right,
You're,
the right
you're-
district. Yeah,
You're a real person with proper identification,
right.
and whether or not you went through those motions, you still have that right, and you can vote, and your
Right.
vote counts.
But my understanding is that there are some districts, like some states or some cities, where they don't ask for ID. You just show up and say, "I want to vote." They give you a ballot, and they don't have to ask you. As a matter of fact, in some states, I think California, it's illegal for them to ask you for ID. And so
But
you can, and this is the problem.
have
but
a registration card.
maybe so, but the problem is that they can give registration cards to anybody who has a driver's license, and because illegal immigrants can get driver's licenses in California, they can get a registration card.
That's right.
So, yeah. And again, every illegal alien who votes disenfranchises a legal voter.
Sure.
So I do think that they should have a national, in the United States, they should have a national standard for presidential elections. If it's a federal election, if you're voting in your state election, fine, do whatever rule you want. But for federal elections, for your your Washington senator, your Washington congressperson, your what do you call it? Your president. There should be a national standard that they all use the same machines, they all use the same method, whatever. And I think that's how they should do it. But
And I find it weird. I saw the video they did about some guy, I can't remember his name, but he went into black neighborhoods and was like,
yeah,
"Oh, do you think it's bad?"
Ami Horowitz.
There you go.
Yep.
All the
good
white
video.
people were like, "Oh yeah, no, black people don't know any better."
Well, maybe they don't have an internet connection or they can't get on the internet.
But every black person is like,
yeah,
"Are you
I got a wallet.
crazy? Of course I have a driver's license."
Yeah, I got a driver's license. I got ID. Do you have internet? Yeah, I got internet. How do you get along without internet? Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's the soft bigotry of low expectations, right?
Yeah. And you can't get by without ID.
Yeah.
Like,
how do you can't get anything done with it? You want to fill out an application for something, you need ID.
your first ID happens when you're like 12 or 13 and you're getting a bus pass from your high school. Like you have ID.
Yep.
And it carries with you. It's part of your life forever. It's not hard. It's really not that hard.
No, it's a trope that the left uses, right? That it's voter suppression to ask people for ID. How is it voter suppression?
Montana had federal ID. Like there's no way that you can be so fucking off the grid that Ted Kaczynski had ID.
Yeah, you can vote.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go the complete opposite. I'll be honest. I'm starting to question the idea of universal suffrage. I'm serious. I'm trying to formulate the idea, should everybody be voting? And I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Look, I do think that there are people who are uninformed and are voting and basically spoiling elections because they don't inform themselves.
Hold on. You're a libertarian.
Right? I am, yeah.
But you also believe in the concept of the state.
I do. I'm not an ANCAP.
Unfortunately means that from time to time we may have to conscript people.
Conscript?
Yep.
For like war?
Yep. From time to time, it may have to happen.
I think that people. Well, here's the thing. I have a very
Because hold on,
particular view of the role of government.
That is the argument that, oh shit, if you live in the country, you benefit from the country. Occasionally, we might have to fight for the country.
Yeah.
So also you get a say in how the country goes.
Here's how I view it. One, I think it should be a volunteer army. And I think there's a reason for it to be a volunteer army. And Milton Friedman lays it out. He'd rather have a mercenary army than a slave army. And it's essentially what it comes down to, right? But my thought is, how about this, right? If you want to vote in your local elections, you have to contribute your time, a certain amount of time every month, to your local community. In that you have to volunteer in some way, you have to, pick up garbage, what have you. But basically, you have to invest yourself and your time into your community, thereby saying, I want to be part of this community. I want to have a say in this community. Same goes for the province. So at some amount of time per year, you have to devote so much time to community work at the provincial level, whether that means you work as a lifeguard at a provincial park or whatever. But you have to volunteer your time. If you want to vote at the federal level, you have to volunteer so much of your time every year to work at the national level, volunteer work at the national level.
Damn,
and that
you sound like the European socialists of old, and I'm not actually against it. That I got friends in Germany and Ukraine, and they had to either, between high school and college, they had to do a year of police, a year of hospice, or a year of military. And they've ended that recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But you had to serve your other people, your fellow man, your countrymen.
Yeah.
And then you go on to be free. But you had to know what it's like.
Right.
And hospice is like feeding old people.
Yeah.
Right? Police is, for the most part, in a lot of those countries, is fairly easy for you.
You walk down the street, you give
but
a ticket.
Some of them take military, and they go on campaign when it's necessary. And I met a couple that the man went on campaign, and his now wife went to hospice.
Yeah.
And it was just like this funny dichotomy that, oh yeah, no, I put him in the hospital, fixes him up. And but they know what it takes, right? That 19 in the back of a truck in the middle of Africa, German people, right?
Right.
Back of a truck in Africa, and they're rolling up on another truck, and it's not African militants, it's French militants. And the two trucks roll up on each other, and suddenly everyone is standing up, and they got guns pointed at each other, and everyone's fucking yelling, and no one is fucking listening, and everyone is just... But you have to have that intensity in your life. You have to know what life is worth. And his girlfriend is basically everyone she meets, she likes them for 2 weeks, and then they die. and that's how they bonded, and that's how we don't understand that.
Yeah.
That how fragile this life is, man.
Right. Well, I mean, it speaks to the idea of, like, doing good work, right? Making the world a better place. Now, you could decide to devote whatever the mandate is in order to get you these powers to vote. But you could decide to just fuck the dog the whole time, right? I'll show up and clock in and I'll clock out just so I can vote in the election, whatever. And I'm sure that would happen, but it's not going to reflect very well on you, and you're not going to gain anything out of it. But the idea would be that you have to prove that you are invested in the community at whatever level it is you want to participate in the electoral process of the community. So, and I do think that, yeah, it could be military service at the federal level. It could be, national service in some other way, fighting fires, planting trees, whatever. But I think it's a good way to say, okay, not everybody can vote. It's back to the Starship Troopers, service grants citizenship kind of thing. So you can be a tax-paying resident of the country, but if you want to be a participant, an actual citizen of the country, you've got to participate. You've got to actually invest yourself in this country. And I'm sure there'll be ways of people saying, well, I pay X number of taxes, or you donate so much money so you'll be able to get around that, what have you. And I'm sure there's going to be loopholes that people are going to work into the legislation. But if the core idea is that you must invest your time and energy into your community in order to gain the power to impact the legislation and the functioning of that community, I don't think that's necessarily a bad approach to take.
See, I like it on a fundamental level, but I want it to be where we can still justify control over people. Make it 17, right? You have your options in your co-op year.
Yep.
Right. That go plant trees, or go take care of old people, or go overseas.
Yeah.
And see what the hell is going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it's not.
So you're saying just you do 1 year and then you're set for life, kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That after a year, I think you have a better understanding, especially forget the violence of overseas.
Yeah.
If you dedicate a year to planting trees, you'll see what goes on with the lumberjacks, how hard it is to live out there and plant trees, cut trees, and make sure that we have all the wood we need, all the pulp we need. Go ahead and as a kid, especially, right? Take care of the older people. Appreciate your grandparents more, because they have this wisdom, and now you earn credits for it. Sure, I think that has a value, but we have to do it, especially because we're libertarians. We have to do it when they are still that young and weak.
Yeah, it should be something. It should be something that is instilled as part of the regular function of the country at a younger age. Yeah. Now, my understanding is that kids nowadays, when they're in high school, they have to devote so much time to community service to get a credit, don't they?
Some of them, Catholic schools more.
Yeah. Okay.
But even then, they can always fake it.
Sure. Yeah. No, my thought would be to vote in municipal elections, you have to give away a weekend a month. 1 weekend a month you've got to devote to do something at the local level, whether it be volunteer at the local pool, being a lifeguard or whatever, or at the library stacking books. I don't care. And for the provincial elections, 1 week a year.
Is that forever?
Yeah. Well, until you can no longer do it. Right. So when you get retirement age and you can't quite do it, or when you get
not like a young people thing, and then
everybody does it.
Nah.
If you want to continue to vote, if you want to abstain, fine. You don't get to vote in any of the elections. And if you want to vote at the federal election, in the election year, you have to give up a month of your year, 30 days of your year. You've got to devote. Yeah,
but we have conscription.
Conscription if necessary, but not necessarily conscription.
Doesn't matter.
That's not me. That's a quote from.
That was the risk we take.
That was a quote from Winston Churchill, I think. Right. Conscription if necessary, but not necessarily conscription. No, I get you. We don't have conscription in Canada, though, do we? I don't think we do anymore.
You know what? We don't have rights in Canada, so conscription is always on the table.
Yeah, fair enough. But I'm okay with conscription if it comes down to there's an invading force and you need to go to the border and help
Me,
defend, but not necessarily you're going to go over and secure this oil field in Iraq. We're conscripting you to do that. No, not on board with that.
and we don't. We actually don't have the force. Like
No.
we don't have the numbers to do it. But
Yeah, the reason I started thinking about the idea of questioning universal suffrage was because Sargon of Akkad did a big long video analysis of the movie Starship Troopers. He's
carry
talking
it.
about what's
Go
that?
on. Carry it for me. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay, sure. All right, I'm carrying it for Irving. He has to go either cough or take a leak or sneeze or something. But if anybody's still watching, and I hope you all are, if you haven't seen that video with Sargon of Akkad, where he talks about Starship Troopers, I'll see if I can find it here, and then I'll share it in the chat because it's worth watching. It's a good long video, but it's worth watching, and it might make you question the idea of universal suffrage. Because if you're not aware, originally back in the day in the U.S., not everyone could vote. Only property holders could vote. So let's see if I can find it here. So yeah, if you didn't have, if you didn't own property, you couldn't. I think this is it. No, it's longer than that. If you didn't have property, you couldn't vote. So and then of course when at the earliest times when it was still like just a new nation, I don't think women were able to own property initially, so they couldn't vote. But oh, where is it? I'm trying to find it here. Oh, Politics of Demolition Man. He did one on the Politics of Demolition Man. You know, I'm going to link that too because that's a good one. So let me put that in the chat, and you should all give it a watch at some point. But if I can find that Starship Troopers one, I will. Point being, the notion that everybody who is of age should be able to vote in elections. People who vote in elections, and some people don't know, don't care. They just know that Orange Man is bad, so they're going to vote against him. And I think in order to engage in the electoral process, you should be engaged in society. And that doesn't just mean paying taxes. It doesn't just mean owning property. I think it means knowing what's going on. And that's where the idea comes from, where I think you should be devoting some of your time to the state, at the provincial level, the local level.
I'm back, and I'm going to counter that opinion.
Of course you are.
I think to be... Oh, shit. You were saying to be involved in the electoral process.
Yeah.
You should be involved in the society.
Yes. Beyond just paying taxes, yes.
And I think involvement in the electoral process is the motivation to be involved in society. And suddenly I think I'm a little bit on the libertarian side and trying to convince you now rather than have you talk me off the cliff.
You may be right there.
Oh, that is the motivation, is that we should all be involved in society because we have this power. This power is something that we should respect, and because we have it, we should get involved.
We should. But the problem is that, if you don't have to work for something that you have, you don't appreciate it. And that's why people just vote all willy-nilly. And
I think that falls on the parents. And I think it's a travesty that you and your lady have not had children. And it's a travesty I haven't had children. And I'd like to, like, I'm involved in my community. I know the neighborhood families and kids, and I try to avoid it for the most part because it's mostly depressing. But I talk with the parents and I talk with the kids and I try to fucking sneak shit in to the children. Like, have you seen that video of that kid playing Monopoly and he's crying like, taxes? What? No, it's okay. It's part of the game. It's the worst part of the game. What's the worst part? The worst part of the game is taxes. Have you seen this? He's crying over Monopoly because he has to pay taxes and it's costing him the game.
True.
And I try to sneak that shit in to the little kids in the neighborhood. The parents love me, the kids love me, they love the dog, and we get along. And I just give them hints of like, maybe what you earn is yours, kiddo. And yeah.
Just tell them taxation is theft.
No. It's not always theft.
No, it's true.
But you got to keep it to a minimum, right?
I
You
can't
can
find
be
this
willing
thing
to share, but when it starts to hurt you, that's not fair anymore.
Yeah, but the thing is, sharing is voluntary, right? Taxation isn't voluntary. You do it. You concede to it.
And that's where we went the other day, right? That this whole concept of government and police, government and law, that's one step left, one step authoritarian, but we accept it as necessary.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful now. So whatever is left, that's a government program, right? Whatever's authoritarian, that's police. That's the use of force to protect our rights. So we've already said that's okay. So everything else, we got to question it. You know,
True. I hear you.
and I just want these kids to not get into this headspace where, oh, government purpose is healthcare and education. No, it's not, motherfucker. Like, no, it's not. Government's purpose is to create an environment where it is free for people to live and earn that living. That's the government's purpose. Guarantee your rights and freedoms so that you can fucking do your own thing and make your own fortune or make your own failure, whatever you choose, right? But they think it's something else, and we have to give them little clues here and there, especially because, God, I grew up in a place, you grew up in a place where we had healthcare, and we think, so many people think, that's fine, that's right, that's the way to do it. No, it's not. That's fucking garbage. That cost us half our fucking income, and it's been putting us in debt for the past 60 years.
Well, I have lots of opinions on our national healthcare system, but I mean, or our state healthcare system, whatever you want to call it. But I'm side with Peterson on this. You know, everybody talks about their rights, nobody talks about their responsibilities. You know, and people need to be sold the idea that you should want to earn your privileges. You should want to, you know, live up to your privileges. And the idea that you just owed this thing by virtue of existing is not good for your, it's not good for your soul. It's not good for the society because, like you said, it's costly. And damn, I wish I could find that. Anyway, I found the Demolition Man one, and I put it in the chat. But you can't post links in the chat without a moderator. I thought I had the moderator button.
Don't you?
I guess I don't.
Where's your? I don't have
I don't have a wrench.
I don't have you putting your shit in here. Actually, how do you not have a wrench?
I don't know.
There you go.
I got a wrench now.
Go ahead.
Let me try.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a wrench. Okay, so now that's the link if you guys want to look at it. That's the Sargonovicod Demolition Man breakdown. If you watch that one and you can find the Starship Troopers one, it's worth watching as well.
the worst part is that Taco Bell has not survived, at least in Toronto.
No.
All Taco Bells are closed.
That sucks.
It's a fucking shame.
What do you say, Irving? We're coming up on 2.5 hours. You think we should continue on?
I'm getting pretty sloppy, but if you don't think that's a problem, we should move on. I'm happy to carry on here.
Yeah, we can keep talking. I don't have to be at work tomorrow.
Hit me.
Hit you.
Yeah, no, you've been just a fucking wonder. Okay, I don't know anyone who has not subscribed to you that is subscribed to me. So I think we're gonna do well. Like, I mean, we have 12 people watching and 16 likes. That means we had at some point 35, maybe 40 people watching.
Oh, you know what? I have not liked yet, so I've just liked it as well. So
I try not to like streams of which I consider myself a part. So I don't like my own, I don't like yours, because again, I consider myself co-host to your Ammunition, and you know what? You are very much co-host to my After Hours, and I appreciate that. No homo, but I'm very much glad that we are friends and that you can put up with my bullshit.
what bullshit?
Thank you for coming on here.
It's always a pleasure.
Holy shit! Yeah, we're fucking skyrocketing.
It's because of me. I mean, I'm not your channel, so me liking your channel is legitimate. If you like your own channel, I can see why that's considered doctoring. So, but yeah,
Too kind. I appreciate.
Of course, I've been liking it so far. So
I'm happy we're friends. I'm gonna try and send you something on your Amazon wish list. Okay, let's.
I don't know if I have an Amazon wish list. I should make one.
No drugs though, because Amazon doesn't do that.
We'll do Silk Road wish list. How about that? I think the Silk Road is down anyway. I don't think it exists anymore.
It's been down for a long time.
Yeah. So no, that's cool. I appreciate you having me on. I always enjoy these little chats, and
Might be.
and you know what? It's natural. We seem to be able to just play off one another and you know, interact with a sort of genuineness without having to put on airs or anything like that. So that's good.
Yeah, God, your channel is so pure that you just hit the road and talk, and yeah, like as soon as you hit me up, I was like, oh my God, you're exactly what I want to grow into being, and
You're giving me a big head. Don't get too excited about that. I'm 50 now.
that's the same demo. Like, I mean,
I suppose.
Ah,
Well, it's quite the compliment, Irving. Again, I love your channel, love your content.
too kind.
And if you aren't subscribed to Irving, although I imagine you probably are, if this showed up in your feed and you found this live stream, then you should subscribe to him. And if you aren't subscribed to me, then please do. I can link my channel, I suppose. Let's see here.
Yeah, when I grow up, I want to be Craig Bragg.
Oh,
so just subscribe to him.
See, I don't think I can share it without my subscriber being on there. Just see here.
But your link is in the description. Your channel.
Oh, well then.
Yeah.
If my link's in the description, then yeah, I think that's probably good.
Yeah. No. I took care of that.
Cool. Thanks, buddy.
But where were we? Okay. Sargon.
Yes.
And his pop culture references. Man. Yeah, no. Demolition Man was another prophetic moment.
Yeah, it was.
That those mid-90s things were so magical that they thought it in advance, and they were mocking it from day one. And now suddenly mocking has become racist hate speech that they're doing their best to defend against the concept of being mocked.
Yeah. Well, this is the cool thing about this Demolition Man one he did. It's actually more recent than the one he did for Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers is a year or so old. Demolition Man, I think he did in the last few months. But yeah, he's basically likening it to what we have going on right now in our society, how everything is sanitized, only official, only curated speech is allowed. All the entertainment, all the media is just like packaged nonsense that has nothing controversial about it.
But what's weird is that Canada seems to be the place that all got very much accepted very quickly, and the US is now ruled. The president is Edgar Friendly. That's
Yeah,
yeah, like
it's true.
yeah, the character played by Dennis
Dennis Leary.
is in fact the ruler of that country, and we are the fucking normies that are fucking, oh my god, we can't have sex. We have to put on these helmets and pretend that we're having
Yeah.
contact. What? No, what? Oh. and again, I'm circling back to that idea that no, man, Canadians, we don't have a silent majority. Most of our people are that normie, they're that weak, they're that cucked. And I hate to use that term because it sounds so like right-wing derogatory, but no, we're a weak people. We strayed from polite and kind into the realm of weak. And now our prime minister doesn't fight China for our political prisoners and doesn't fight China on their political prisoners, their Uyghur concentration camps.
Yep.
Our prime minister fights us and tells us all of his wrongs are our learning experience, and
Yep.
we fucking buy it and we reelect him. And I'm so mad. I'm so mad at Canada and my province in particular.
I'm the same. I originally when the whole COVID thing started, I was like, okay, Ford seems to have a handle on this. He seems to be leading us properly. He was great. But now it seems like he's just towing the line. And
yeah, and I don't know what happened there.
I think he got read the riot act by Ottawa and said, "Look, play ball." And I don't know. He's a politician, right? He's in a field that has its own rules that we're not privy to, and in order to get what he wants done, he probably has to play ball.
I wanted to think after his brother died that he was gonna fucking do everything his own way, but something tells me that no, he had further political aspirations.
Yeah.
And now that this shit happened, they basically said you won't get past provincial if you don't capitulate.
Yeah.
And
it's
I hate for it to be true, man.
You're right. We don't have a lot of red pilled or silent majority here in Canada. But the funny thing is, when I speak to people about politics, I hear the same sort of responses, like the sort of the rhetoric and talking points that they're getting from the media. But then when we try and dissect it, and I try and talk to them about it a little bit more in depth, I find in a lot of cases they're agreeing with me. So they know their initial response because they've been told what to respond with. But after, some momentary reflection on it and somebody pressing them on it to think about it a little bit, and don't get me wrong, I'm not being pedantic and saying, think about this. I render my opinion.
No.
And they'll come back and go, yeah, I see your point. So I think people could easily become sort of red pilled, so to speak, or will easily see that, yeah, your rights are being violated in this sense, then I think it could happen. I just don't know when it's going to happen, or if there is a leader that's going to make it happen at any point.
There's this stereotype that Canadians are polite, and that coincides with being caring and being compassionate and even empathetic. And so when you put a policy out there that seems on the face, compassionate, empathetic, like, oh, let's give money to parents of children that are autistic. Sure. Yeah, I'm not against that. But now you're trying to compete with that concept, that empathetic, compassionate idea is like, hold on, the government, you have to convince people now that the government doesn't give a goddamn thing. They take.
That's right.
They have to take from everybody to give to this small group. So, yeah, these ideas are actually a little bit authoritarian and somewhat discompassionate because they just steal from the average person to help the unfortunate. And we're not against helping the unfortunate. We don't think that's a bad thing. We just want to do it more voluntarily. And maybe when the government puts out these programs, maybe we want to have a larger discussion and decide that that's okay. Because again, I'm not against them. I'm actually in some cases for them. That if we're investing into a large group for a little bit of money, that might be okay. If children have higher IQs after having better meals for the first 6 years of their life, maybe we should invest in lunches and breakfasts at school. I'm not against that. We can discuss the costs and all that, right? But we should still talk about it before somebody comes to my house with a gun and a uniform and says, "Pay up, motherfucker."
Well, see, that's the thing, though. And I'll be honest, like, my position is that charitable organizations should do the heavy lifting and helping the people who truly need the help. I don't think it should be it's the purview of government. But in the cases where government are going to be involved in that sort of work, the issue is you can't convince people that they're being robbed, that they're being extorted by government when a new program is put up or their taxes get raised. It's like, well, taxation. They don't cotton to the idea of taxation being theft in essence, right? But it is. All taxation is taken under threat of force.
Yeah.
If taxes were voluntary, like if you want to convince them that taxes are not voluntary, just give them the scenario. Okay, so tomorrow Justin Trudeau or the government comes out and says, okay, all taxes are now pay what you will. So you can pay as much or as little as you want. Would you pay the same amount or would you pay less?
I'm not sure, but I'd pay like between 18 and 22%.
I'd probably pay less. I would probably choose to pay less. And I would probably determine that I'd prefer to pay more at my local level than at the federal level.
Oh, okay. I'd pay 12 to the province and 9 to the Fed. That
Okay.
That's off the top of my head, just without thinking. Just like, yeah, here's some numbers. Yeah, I'm good.
But I mean, this is the point, right? People don't consider taxation to be something that is taken from them under threat of force because, one, it comes out of their paycheck, so they don't even notice it, and two, it's one of these things that they count on. It's one of those things that the only things sure in life are death and taxes.
Death and taxes, and they haven't noticed for 70, 80, 100 years, and
You know, I think the government program should run on a GoFundMe platform. If the government wants to do something, it should say, "We got an idea on how we can fix this. We're looking for people who are interested in making it happen to donate." Anything beyond the main purpose of government, which is, you and I agree, protect our country from threats and maintain our rights. So what does that require? A police force, a judiciary, and an army or a military force, right? So anything beyond that,
and that's going to be the vast majority of the cost, right? Is a professional.
Let's assume, right, a professional army, professional police, and a judiciary, a well-trained judiciary that's capable of handling the disputes, the legal disputes that go on in the country, which are going to be many, sure. But those are the things that I think government should be involved in. Now, if the government wants to be involved in anything else, make it a GoFundMe. Say, hey, you know what? We actually decided we want to try and put a public option for healthcare for people who can't afford to buy their own insurance.
That's actually a new thing, though, right?
Yeah. If you're interested, commit to the GoFundMe. And if we hit a certain threshold, you get, then we'll fund it. And if you donate a certain amount, you'll get this level of coverage when the plan comes out. If you donate this amount,
20 years ago.
What's that?
We could not have done that.
No, we couldn't.
Years ago.
No, because we didn't have high-speed internet or anything
but
like that.
Now
right?
we have that, and I'd be interested in seeing what happened there. Not to defund the government, but see what people voluntarily invest in making that possible. That's interesting. That's an interesting experiment.
I don't see why it wouldn't work for a new community. Like, suppose you started up a new town somewhere in the middle of nowhere. You said, we're going to do all of our basic functions are going to be part of your property taxes. So if you live here, you got to pay for it. But anything we want to do, build a new park, let's say, we're going to do a GoFundMe for the park. Everybody who's interested in building the park, put your money in. If you don't care, you don't have to put your money in. And depending on how much money we raise, will be how good the park's going to be. So if we don't hit a threshold, we can't build the park.
Well, it doesn't matter because we're not allowed to go to the parks.
Yeah.
Like so many people are pointing to the Scandinavian nations and are like, "Oh, look how socialist they are." It's like, bitch, they're not socialist. They're fucking free of defense costs.
Yeah, they're free market with a heavy social program in place, which is paid for because they don't have to pay for a huge military. You're right.
They rely on the U.S. to defend them, and I understand that. I'm not against defending our allies, right? But you're sinking money into something that you're now allowing someone else to care for you. That's not different from a fucking kid, from a child saying, "Oh, yeah, I pay for my own rent and my school costs, but my parents send me money every month to pay for my food and my entertainment." Like, nah, hold the fucking phone. Like, yeah, that's again, the Scandinavian countries have been doing fairly well, and if they're not under siege, they do okay.
Yeah. And then you get countries like Sweden who will just open up their gates to foreign invaders and say, no, they're Swedes and they're good people.
Norway,
Sweden belongs to them.
Denmark too. And Geert Wilders doing a great job of pointing out what's wrong with the country.
That reminds me, I don't think I follow him on Twitter. I should follow him.
I follow David Wood.
Did they kill him? Did they take his account away?
I don't know if he's on Twitter, but Geert Wilders, he's not dead.
Oh no, he's there. It's just that he didn't show up in when I searched for him. He didn't show up as a verified user. So,
Are they shadow banning?
no, he's there though. He is verified. I just had to search. I had to search deeper, but I found him. Yeah, I'm gonna follow him now.
Oh, are we getting into Islam here? Oh, because I follow.
Well, did you see that Joe Biden tweeted, or the Joe Biden campaign anyway tweeted? He says, "I wish that Islam was taught in schools."
Does he though? Because he doesn't know shit.
No, he didn't tweet it, right? Somebody in his
No, yeah,
campaign
but I
did.
mean, they don't know shit either.
No,
Like,
no, but that's what they've tweeted, is what I'm saying. Whether they believe it or not, but the fact is they're virtue signaling to the Islamic community, so they vote for Biden.
so I said this before on a stream and on videos. I have a Bible and a Quran and all kinds of religious and philosophical texts on my shelf. The Quran is no more or less horrific than other religious or philosophical texts, but it has a special place that it is both considered the Word of God. It is infallible and immutable to its followers, and it is also a political a political ideology.
Yep.
And it's built into worshiping this particular sect of religion that should, according to itself, rule a country. And that's why all of these Arabic Islamic countries are ruled by Islam and politically led by Islam. And it's,
How are those countries doing?
Well, they all have slavery.
Yeah.
Let's
true.
put it that way.
Well, because it's in the Quran. Right? It's allowed in the Quran.
Yeah.
So it's allowed in their legal framework as well. Yeah. But it's just surprising because you look at a guy like Biden, Democrat, and the Democrats have been fighting for years to keep Christianity out of schools and make sure that there's a separation of church and state.
And then they want that.
And then he says, I wish they taught Islam in school. I'm like, really? Islam? Islam doesn't have any other nations beside Islam. So if you teach Islam in schools, it's teaching students that America is subservient to Islam.
Because they talk about Islam being the religion of peace.
Yeah.
But the word Islam
means
means submission.
Submission, yeah. Sorry, you're right.
And
jihad means struggle. That's right. Jihad means struggle.
Yeah. And there's room for the arguments that jihad means personal struggle.
Yeah.
And that applies to the Jews and Christians that might be tempted into following this. But when you realize that the whole thing is political and immutable, suddenly you run into a whole bunch of fucking problems, especially as a libertarian that believes in Jesus. Suddenly you cannot do this.
No.
You cannot eat this.
Well, I'm an atheist, so right, according to Islam, I'm not even human. So
Ooh, that's about as harsh as I might get here. You know what? My boy David Wood, he gets way harsher than you. So
no, it's true though.
Yeah.
And in Islamic terms, atheists are subhuman. If you're an atheist apostate from Islam, so if you were raised in an Islamic family and you become an atheist, sentence is death.
The only thing worse is a Jew.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're the enemy. But yeah,
Christians can still be coerced.
that's right. Or you have to be a dhimmi and pay a tax.
Yeah.
Atheists just get, stoned to death or thrown.
Yes.
Or if I tell them I like Blair White, they'll throw me off a tall building.
Oh. And her with you.
Yeah, and her with me. That's right. At least we'll be together. Anyway.
Oh shit. Yeah, but okay.
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
This can be a long conversation if you want.
I was gonna say it's getting a little late. It's like almost 2 now. We should probably call it at some point.
I got a ton on this, so if you want to come back sometime this week, we will go at this if you like.
Absolutely. And hey, I'm on vacation. I could get high or have myself a drink, and we can both get sloppy drunk.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I want all of the above.
All right, sounds good.
But for now, Craig, I've got your link in the description. But do you have anything coming up in your immediate future? You got 2 weeks off. What's going on with you?
Nothing planned. I do want to head to I got myself a new 9mm, so I do want to head to the range. So maybe I'll make a video at the range, and I'll post it.
Please, I'll wear a mask if I have to. I will come. Invite me, please. Please.
Yeah, if you want to come down to Burlington, sure.
Yes,
yeah, we can go to the range.
I
sure.
do.
All right, yeah, I can arrange that. It's just it'll cost you $20 to shoot. That's all.
Spare no expense.
No, it's just you got to sign a waiver and drop $20 in a box. That's all, just to say, hey, I read the rules, and if I fuck up, this $20 is supposed to help cover the insurance.
We'll have multiple cameras. We'll post it all on both our channels.
There you go.
It'll be a great video.
Sounds good. I'll bring all my guns, and you can try them all out.
Oh fuck yeah! Okay.
All right, sounds good. We'll arrange for that. But we should, like I said, call it. Sorry, Slims Rockers, you just started. You just got in. You missed a lot. So when we're done, go back and watch the rest.
There are people
watching.
There's people that miss my streams at the start, and they wake up 6:30, and instead of talk radio, they listen to us.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, they exist. And Slim's Rocker, while you're having your coffee tomorrow, because right now I'm garbage. I'm done. I'm out. So tomorrow you'll enjoy whatever we did before this. But thanks for coming, really.
Yep. Thanks all. And thanks again, Irving, for having me on. We'll do another one later on this week.
Yes. Guaranteed.
All right.
And we'll see y'all. Thanks for coming. Hail Sigmar. I'm hitting the button. Good night, all.
Good night.